So sorry. I don't.
I'm sorry, Daddy.
So committed, I don't.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, neither do you. Neither do
well,
Tom
I
Preston.
think
What we must love it here, don't we?
Yeah, I know. Come here, have a good show, right?
You too, Lee. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the nice afternoon. I think the weather's going to pick up a little bit for us. Dry at least. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show. Coming up very shortly. We'll get the show started in earnest. But first, let's get a news update at 9, a minute past in fact, and say good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Disagreement and insults characterised the early days of talks, which eventually led to the Good Friday Agreement. That's according to the chair of the all-party talks, as the 25th anniversary of the accord is being marked. The aim was to bring about an end to the troubles that claimed thousands of lives north of the border and beyond. George Mitchell chaired the discussions. He says they got off to a very difficult start.
Some of them said under no circumstances would they sit in talks if Sinn Féin entered them. There was really very little progress. It was mostly just disagreement and insults and invective and allegations back and forth.
A man's been arrested and interviewed about 4 alleged incidents of sexual assault in the Derry area. 3 occurred in the city. 1 occurred on a train out of the city, as Donna Marie Doherty now reports.
Police arrested a 53-year-old man on suspicion of 4 counts of sexual assault following incidents in Derry City and on board a train between Derry and Ballymoney on Monday evening last. 2 women reported being approached and sexually assaulted at their place of work in Foyle Street at around 5:30 p.m. A 3rd woman was then approached and assaulted also on Foyle Street at around 6 p.m. Another report then described a similar suspect having approached and assaulted a woman on board a train travelling between Derry and Ballymoney at around 8:15 p.m. Inspector Armour has said the suspect has been interviewed on suspicion of these offences and will return for further questioning at a future date.
21 new judicial positions are to be created under a bill going to Cabinet this morning. Judges to be appointed right across the legal system. Ministers will also approve a forum to discuss Ireland's neutrality. Sean Defoe has been looking at today's Cabinet agenda.
Justice Minister Simon Harris is bringing a bill based on the recommendations of the Judicial Planning Working Group, which will create 21 new judges across the District, Circuit and High Court, as well as the Court of Appeal. Taoiseach and Foreign Affairs Minister Micheál Martin is looking for approval to set up a forum on Ireland's foreign policy in the 21st century, which will certainly discuss the position of Irish neutrality after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He'll also ask for the Defence Forces to be allowed to send a vessel as part of an EU security project blocking arms from being imported into Libya. Cabinet will approve the creation of a new child poverty unit in the Department of the Taoiseach, which will be tasked with addressing, among other things, family homelessness. While the Finance Minister Michael McGrath will update colleagues on plans to join the Global Corporation Tax Agreement and minimum rate of 15%, while Minister Eamon Ryan will submit plans to slash VAT on solar panels in order to reduce the average cost of installation by up to £1,000.
Well, the forecast and Met Éireann tell us outbreaks of rain will linger through the morning, but by the afternoon, as Greg and Lee were just saying, much of the more persistent rain will have cleared eastwards. Decent sunny spells this afternoon, just a few showers from the west. Top temperatures today hitting 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Taking time out to visit a healthcare professional isn't always convenient. That's why at Irish Life Health, we visit you. With My Clinic, our members get virtual access to back and neck physiotherapy, professional counselling, unlimited GP consultations and more. Search Irish Life Health. A better life with Irish Life Health. Services available where covered in your plan and clinically appropriate. Professional counselling available to age 16 plus. Back and neck physio to age 18 plus. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 5 minutes past 9. It's Wednesday the 5th of April 2023, and talk of the weather there. Do you remember the April at the first lockdown, what that weather was like? That would be remarkable to get it again. No sign of it though, but wouldn't it be nice? Anyway, we've our business to do this morning as that rain clears. The lines are open for you to get involved in the conversation. Start your own 086 60 25,000. Don't be afraid to reach out to us and run stuff by us if you want to talk about something. You're not pushed straight on air, or sometimes you don't even have to. We want to speak to you on 086 60 25,000. That's WhatsApp or text, as I mentioned. Feel free to give us a call, 07491 25,000, 074 9125000, and your emails to comments@highlandradio.com. And as I remind you every morning, and I'll continue to do so, and people join us every day watching the show live on their big screen via their smart TV or Fire Stick on YouTube. Just search Highland Radio Ireland. Give us a like and a subscribe if you don't mind. And we're across all of our Facebook pages as well. And you can watch in browser on our website, highlandradio.com. Just click Watch Live. Let's start with the papers, of course. The Finn Valley Voice this morning. Pierce Doherty will deliver the main oration at Drumbow on Easter Sunday, the 9th of April. This year is an important year for Irish people and Republicans across the state and county of Donegal. We mark 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement, an historic and international success story in peacemaking, he says. On to the Inish Times now. The preferred route, we're told, emerges for the Bridgend bypass. An emerging preferred route corridor for a proposed new road from Bridgend to the border has been identified. The preferred option for the new road, if finally selected, would bring traffic north of the village. A preferred route corridor of about 200 metres wide is going out to public consultation starting today. The route corridor is the preferred option, but not necessarily the final one. Local councillors were told at a workshop on the project at Monday. The preferred corridor was selected ahead of 4 other options: another route north of the village, a route through the village, a route south of the village, or no new road. On to the Donegal Post this morning. Soul destroying is their front page headline. Volunteers in a major clean-up on the main road from Barnesmore to Donegal town found themselves dealing with what they described as dangerous and disgusting items. Among enough roadside litter to fill around 60 large bags was a used colostomy bag. It was but one of many discarded items that was particularly unpleasant for those who had come together at the crack of dawn to make a positive difference to the area. The annual clean-up was organised by Stephen Thomas and Raymond Jordan and was carried out by a team of around 20 volunteers in order to minimise the risk posed to traffic on what is one of the busiest roads in the county. There was a very early start for everyone involved. Fair play to them for getting involved in that, of course. The Irish Independent this morning, and lots. Donald Trump's picture is on all of the front pages, as you can imagine. We'll get to that story on the front of the Times, but we'll start with the Irish Independent. A special operation targeting potential sexual predators within the Irish Defence Forces has been established after it emerged the Gardai have 26 complaints of sex assaults on record. Gardai are now reviewing previous cases to ensure they were investigated properly. Some of the cases date to the early 1960s. All are either currently under investigation or are old cases under review. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris has said he expects more complaints to come forward. The operation, which is led by the Garda National Protective Services Bureau, has been welcomed by the military. It follows a report by an independent review group which found that the Army barely tolerates women. It uncovered a discriminable pattern of rape and sexual assault. The report has been described as stark and harrowing by Taoiseach Micheál Martin, and hopefully finally once and for all there's a proper and fulsome investigation, and if there is a culture within the armed forces along those lines, that it's rooted out. And we know firsthand, having spoke to a number of women who have been in the army and related their horrible experiences in that regard, but also just in terms of progression and treatment in general. Right, the Irish Times. Former US President Donald Trump has been formally arrested and charged in a court in New York on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. He was a quiet character, mute in New York, but when he got home, he let rip, didn't he, last night in a 25-minute speech. Mr. Trump, who is the front runner to secure the Republican Party nomination for the 2024 presidential election, pleaded not guilty to the charges made against him. Mr. Trump's lawyers yesterday hit out at the nature of the case being brought against the former president. We're going to fight it. We're going to fight it hard, they said. They maintained the prosecution was unjustified and argued that he was only prosecuted because his name was Donald Trump. Mr. Trump's lawyers claimed the prosecution did not allege that any federal crime or state crime had been violated. The charges relate to a lower class of felony. Prosecutors alleged Mr. Trump was part of an unlawful plan to suppress negative information, including an illegal payment of €130,000 that was ordered by the defendant to suppress information that would hurt his campaign. Now, the allegation is that it is an illegal payment, as it's stated here as one. There's no alleged here, but that also has to be established if that was an illegal payment. paying hush money in America is not unusual at all. It's certainly not illegal. It just, I think the crux of it here is if it was paid for, benefited his campaign, but wasn't declared as such. That's my understanding anyway. The indictment alleges the reason he committed the crime of falsifying business records was in part to promote his candidacy. From August 2015 to December 2017, the defendant orchestrated a scheme with others to influence the 2016 presidential election by identifying and purchasing negative information about him to suppress its publication and benefit the defendant's electoral prospects. In order to execute the unlawful scheme, they say, the participants violated election law and made and caused false entries in the business records of various entities in New York. And there's 34 charges. It really is one charge, but every time he signed a document or reviewed a document or signed a check or whatever it might be, that seems to be a different count each time, culminating in the 34. On to the Irish Daily Mail this morning. A recruitment crisis in secondary schools is forcing principals to turn to unqualified teachers, cut subjects and curtail extracurricular activities. Now, for so long, teachers have been the brunt of a lot of criticism. You know, the usual stuff. Teachers listening will know they're off today. You've heard it all. You say you're a teacher and they'll say, oh, summer holidays, Christmas holidays, oh, you have it handy. And well, if it was that handy, why aren't there any teachers? There is a massive shortage of teachers, so the job must not be quite as cushy as many might think. 3/4 of school principals have said they received no replies to advertised teaching posts in the current school year. Almost half of all secondary schools have at least one teaching vacancy. A Red C poll of 2,100 members of the Association of Secondary Teachers Ireland has found. As a result, special needs teachers are being reassigned to other duties, while higher and ordinary level classes are being merged. Now, special needs, it's kind of buried in the story here, but there is a shortage of teachers, and if special needs teachers are having to be reassigned, well, that means the important work that they're employed to do is not being done, or at least it's not being done fully, which I think is really quite significant in this story as well. The difficulty in sourcing staff has been blamed on the housing crisis and the high cost of renting, and has sparked serious concerns over the quality of education children are receiving. SDI President Miriam Duggan said today's survey reveals that schools are being forced to use unqualified teachers to divert resources away from students with special educational needs and to drop subjects from the curriculum. This is shocking, they say. This is going to be a particular problem in particular areas. I'm not saying it's not across the country, but I don't know if it's as bad here in the northwest as it might be in other areas where housing shortage is more acute and rents are higher. I'm not really quite sure. On to the Irish Sun, and they're on about the eviction ban today, as all papers are. I just thought I'd go to this paper for its article. Tens of thousands of people are about to lose their homes with no idea where they will live. This is according to Father Peter McVerry. The leading homelessness campaigner also doubled down on his claim that the Taoiseach overruled the housing minister to end the eviction ban. Now, this has been really quite controversial and is probably a much bigger deal than Eoin O'Brien's tweet. But it hasn't really got the same kind of traction, I don't think, in terms of the media coverage. Like, Father Peter McVerry is very trusted, and he is sure that Taoiseach Leo Varadkar overruled the housing minister in ending the eviction ban. Now, both the housing minister and the Taoiseach have rejected this, but Father McVerry is not giving in, of course. The Residents' Tenancy Board this week revealed more than 9,000 eviction notices were issued to renters in the second half of last year, which means between 22,000 and 30,000 people will be forced to find a new home in the coming months after the eviction ban is lifted. Father McVerry, who heads a homelessness charity, said, "We have a tsunami of misery coming down the road. 4,300 eviction notices in the last 3 months of last year. We don't have the figures for the first 3 months of this year, but it's probably going to be quite similar." And of course, one eviction could be 4 or 5 people left homeless. So then Alan Farrell TD, he decided to get involved in this conversation. For what reason, I don't know, on Twitter. And he tweeted, "Talking around corners might be normal for a political activist, but I'm sure it's not normal for a priest." Now, why would any clearly thinking government TD have a shot at Father Peter McVerry like that? Because he is respected beyond his religion and his faith. Even people of no faith or different faiths respect him and what he has to say. And I think that TD has made a serious error there in terms of PR, whether he believes it or not, in turning his attentions to that gentleman. The Irish Daily Star tells us this morning that Health Minister Stephen Donnelly has said 8,500 women used abortion services last year. This compares to more than 6,000 terminations of pregnancies recorded in the previous 2 years. So in total, over the last 3 years, 14,500 women used abortion services last year. Ireland's abortion laws, liberalised following a 2018 referendum, have been the subject of a review as part of legislation introduced. Under the current law, abortions can be performed up to 12 weeks of pregnancy, and women face a 3-day waiting period before they can access an abortion. Ultimately, the review is about improving access to services for women. That's what we're focused on, Minister Donnelly said. He denied suggestions that the system could collapse under demand for services. So over 8,500 women availed of termination of pregnancy services in Ireland last year. He said that the vast majority of women have their needs met in primary care, meaning that they can take a pill. Only 11 of Ireland's 19 maternity hospitals are providing full abortion services. Some hospitals have said the delays because of conscientious objections by staff, but still 8,500 abortions carried out, terminations carried out in Ireland last year. Right, on to the Irish Mirror now, finally to the Irish Mirror now, and quite a significant thing happened really in terms of the redrawing of the lines globally, and that was Finland's accession to NATO. Finland is a nation bordering Russia. Russia, of course, invaded Ukraine because they didn't like the way NATO was going. They thought NATO was getting a bit uppity, but they probably won't be happy then with the border, the NATO border with Russia doubling in effect, which is what happened. What happened yesterday. Finnish ministers formally handed over documents to the alliance's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken at NATO's Brussels HQ. The Nordic country applied 11 months ago, prompted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The move is a huge blow to Kremlin tyrant Putin, who fears the nuclear-armed alliance's expansion towards Russia. Now, the Russian Foreign Ministry warned the Russian Federation will be forced to take military, technical and other retaliatory measures to counter the threats to our nation's or national security. So we'll see where that goes from there. Okay, it's just turned 19 minutes past 9. You are tuned to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We'll get our first guest on the show after we take this quick break. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Become a museum detective at Donegal County Museum. Search for clues and discover more about the history of Donegal with the Museum Detective's Backpack. The backpack is free to borrow when you and your family visit the museum, and it contains a series of activities for children of all ages. Why not pop in for a visit over your Easter break and have fun exploring Donegal's past? Donegal County Museum is located on the High Road in Letterkenny, and admission is free. Telephone 074 912 4613. Email museum@donegalcoco.ie or find us on Facebook. Donegal County Council, supporting our communities and protecting our heritage.
The Screwfix Easter deals are now on. Save €40 on the DeWalt 18-volt twin pack, now only $188.95. Get the Titan hose reel for just $38.95, saving 25%. And buy any Ronseal product and get one half price. Screwfix Easter deals. Shop online or in store. Deals end 10th of April. Delivery charges apply. Paint collection only. Ronseal, cheapest item, half price.
Transform your garage with an electric roller garage door from Garola. It's time to modernise with a fully fitted roller door from just €997. With 21 colours to choose from, we'll even take your old garage door away. Book your free survey today. Call 1800 827 515 or visit garola.ie.
Are you tired of unreliable and inefficient appliances? Upgrade to Bosch, the brand that delivers superior quality and performance. Plus, their advanced technologies and energy-efficient features will save you money on your utility bills. Choose Bosch and experience the difference for yourself. Speak to our expert team now at Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time is 21 minutes past 9. So as we mentioned during a look at the papers, former US President Donald Trump has lashed out at New York prosecutor Alvin Bragg for bringing criminal charges against him and declared himself the victim of election interference without offering evidence. I never thought anything like this could happen in America, Mr. Trump told supporters gathered at his Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida. The only crime I've committed, he said, has been to fearlessly defend our nation against those who seek to destroy it. Raymond is a listener with dual American-Irish citizenship and joins us now. Good morning to you, Raymond. Raymond, are you there? No, Raymond is not there. We shall try and reconnect with Raymond to see what he has to say. We want your views on that as well, by the way. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Just whilst we wait for Raymond to reconnect, I just want to remind you that this is the final call now for your opportunity to win a holiday of a lifetime. We're going to give this prize away in about 24 hours. It's €15,000 in value, a €10,000 holiday voucher, which means you can have one big blowout or numerous holidays until you exhaust the €10,000. It's completely up to you. You also get €5,000 in your back pocket in cash. Entries close tomorrow at 11 a.m. Get onto our website, highlandradio.com, to buy your ticket. Who's to say, or who's not to say, that the winning ticket will be bought today? You can get a ticket for just a tenner if you can afford it, of course. 6 for 50, 10 for 80. So you can buy yourself that amount of tickets or group with others and get them cheaper. It's up to you. Good luck from all the Highland Radio team. More on that later. Right, Raymond, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How's the form?
His form's good, thank you. Raymond, so before we start, would you count yourself as a fan of Trump's? If you liked what he's been doing over the last few years?
Greg, I don't really know how to describe myself.
A bit like myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Trump's done some good stuff. He's also done some bad stuff. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm just my own little person here. What happened yesterday, it seemed to be there was smoke, but there was no fire. And it seemed his attorneys were quite sort of surprised. They were looking for, if you will, a smoking gun. And nothing came out. And like he was charged with 34 counts, but they were all like the lowest level of misdemeanor apparently in New York State. And, the district attorney in Manhattan was trying to sort of turn it into a political affair in here. So, it was sort of amusing. A former acting director of the FBI, who would be no friend of Trump's, in fact, Trump had his attorney general sack him, he referred to the whole affair as, quote, a disappointment. Mm-hmm. And that sort of said a lot. This is somebody who would have blood in this, piece for Trump in here. And it's just he's apparently accused of somehow, and Trump is no angel. A cousin of mine, the first cousin of mine in New York City here, knew or knows two Irish contractors who did a lot of work for Trump, and Trump basically screwed them. He said, I'm not paying the bill. And they were forced into bankruptcy or administration, out of business. He ruined them. This is how Trump operates. But, on the other hand, would a war in Ukraine have started if Trump was in power? No. And
how do you know that, though? How can you say that with certainty? Because, his language towards Putin was the reason a war wouldn't start is because he would nuke him. He made the same kind of threats to North Korea. He's not a great peacemaker. He would have, if he were to prevent war, he would have done so by meeting Putin head on.
Well, Greg, it's difficult in Washington, D.C. They have these they call them neoconservatives. Mm-hmm. They're basically war hawks. Everything is, it's called a zero-sum game. We have to win, you have to lose. I get everything you have in here. And, apparently the number 3 person in the American State Department was stationed in Ukraine for a good number of years, and she's incredibly hawkish. And it's like people here don't understand, supposedly somewhere, and it's hard to put an estimate on things, like 500,000 people have been killed in Ukraine. And does the United States care about 500,000 or 5 million? It's not a factor. It's just, we get to test our weapons, we get to control things in here, and we better start worrying about China, And so, it's very difficult. But Trump, and this is sort of maybe a false analogy, so please excuse me. England had, the legend of Robin Hood, robbing from the rich and given to the poor in here. And Trump sort of almost did the opposite in the United States. He was robbing from the poor and giving to the rich through almost $8 trillion in tax breaks when he was in office. But it's like, I think the Manhattan District Attorney is sort of unwittingly, creating a legend in the making here. And Trump probably has at least a 50-50 chance of being the next president of the United States. Because they're going to be terrified.
But so who's the victim here? Because this works very well for Donald Trump, does it not? In that it pretty much locks him in as the Republican candidate. Now, how this whole affair plays out to the general population remains to be seen. But he wants to run for president again, and this pretty much locks it in. So this works very much in his favour. Not to mention, he's not facing any felony charges, is he? He's got an awful lot of other legal distractions. So this is just another thing for him that's just going to copper fasten his campaign.
No, I totally agree. Up until, I guess, yesterday afternoon before this so-called arraignment or whatever they call it, he, in the last previous 3 days, had raised $7 million. Okay? That's a small amount of money, but it's a lot of money. And that $77 million in another month or two could be $70 million. And, he's the aggrieved person here. And, they're out to get poor Donald in here. And his people are very savvy when it comes to money. And they're on the Internet, raising right now. And, I don't know how much they've raised since yesterday afternoon, but, it's going to add up in here. And this is a new reality of the world here.
The only thing is you see, I don't involve myself in arguments as to whether, Trump's right or Biden's right or Republicans right. Firstly, America is incredibly important, don't get me wrong, but it is another country, right? But secondly, they're all as bad as each other, really, aren't they? They're all in it for their own self-interest. Everything that happens to benefit the elite classes. There's very little that happens to benefit regular people. That's what amazes me, that, regular people like you and me, Raymond, get so tied up and involved in this, because it doesn't matter who's in power in the United States. Nothing's going to change with any great significance. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree with you. If you go back in history, and this is on a Trump personal level, the very best decision he ever made was he married a young lady from the then Czechoslovakia. She had the brains, she had the talent, the smarts, the savvy, the instincts. She made Donald Trump who Donald Trump became.
Imagine an immigrant made Donald Trump. There you go. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, no, and his grandfather, and I'm not trying to besmirch anybody, so please don't get me down for slander or anything. His grandfather would have run in Alaska what in the United States we would call a whorehouse or a house of prostitution. That's where the money started. And then his father was sort of a pretty good-sized property developer in Queens County, or in Queens in the borough of New York. And so he had made a few million there. And then Ivanka Trump came on board, and she supercharged everything. She was incredibly savvy. She had all the instincts, and she had the brains. And he wasn't very secure in the brains department.
Yeah.
So she gets credit, but Trump, I'm sure when he wakes up this morning, in Mar-a-Lago, Florida, I mean, he's got to be smiling at himself, you know.
Yeah. Just in relation to the comments, because it's coming in on text here. As I say, I'm not anti-Trump, pro-Trump. It's American politics. It doesn't really put me up or down. It doesn't pay my mortgage. But just the end of last year, he was asked on Fox News, who he doesn't like anymore, seemingly, what he would do as it would in relation to Putin. And he said, I listen to him constantly using the N-word, and I presume he's referring to Nazi there. That's the N-word, and he's constantly using it. Oh, sorry, it's nuclear, sorry. I listened to Putin constantly using the nuclear word. That's the nuclear word, and he's constantly using it. Trump told Fox News on Monday, he said the nuclear word typically refers to a race shift, and he goes on to, what he goes on to then say, we're talking about nuclear power here. And then he says, but we're a greater nuclear power. We have the greatest submarines in the world, the most powerful machines ever built. You should say, look, if you mention that word one more time, we're going to send them over and we'll be coasting back and forth up and down your coast. So in other words, if he were to have prevented the war in Ukraine, he's quite clearly on the record saying, although the war had started at that point, it would be meeting fire with fire. Do you know what I mean? He's not this great diplomat. I just hate the way sometimes history be rewritten a little bit, Raymond.
No. Look, I'm not going to disagree with you. Putin, or excuse me, Trump, Mr. Trump, is certainly not a diplomat. You know, I mean, there's a massive amount of, the American term would be bravado. You know, he's a big 800-pound gorilla just by himself. You know, but it's this Ukraine, there was a lot of, I think, very bad, serious misunderstandings. And you know, like, I'm sure you know, like, a year ago, Ireland had, was it the chair of the United Nations Security Council, like a very important position. And, you know, Ireland, if you will, sat on its thumbs. They, you know, and this thing, they knew 6 months in advance there was the likelihood of an invasion was going to happen in here. And, you know,
the invasion happened. Yeah, I get you, but again, let's not rewrite history either to any extent, because the invasion happened in 2014, and the world stood by and allowed Putin, or didn't really say a great deal, to march into another country and annex a great big portion of it. That happened in 2014, and sure, if that happened in 2014, of course he's going to go and try and take more of it back. Now, don't get me wrong. The West and NATO were antagonizing Putin all the while. That was never really talked about, with, demonstrations and war games close to Russia, pulling the political strings in Ukraine, trying to get other countries close to Russia to join NATO. You saw what happened in Finland there. That was a country dead against NATO membership. The war started. All of a sudden, all the people wanted to be part of NATO. Do you know, like, but Russia, Putin wasn't just sitting there minding his own business. There is a political movement in Russia for it to return to the Russia it once was, and he's, you know, the architect of that.
Oh, no, look, Greg, I really can't disagree with, you know, what you're saying here, all right? There's a little bit of another side. In 2014, there was a democratically elected president in Ukraine. The United States and NATO, for all intents and purposes, staged the coup d'etat. They didn't want to wait another 2 years for the next election. And, you know, before that, I think it was 2008, there was a meeting, I don't know, in Europe somewhere. George Bush and Putin were there. And Bush said, you know, he was going to get, you know, Georgia and some other place into NATO. And Putin, no, I'm not tolerating this, you know. And if you go back to I think it was 1991 or thereabouts, when the Soviet Union fell, the United States Secretary of State and the head of NATO gave public assurances to Russia that they wouldn't that NATO would not move 1 inch eastward. So, like, they broke commitments in here. So, like, you know, there's problems on both sides in here. You know, so, like, I'm no diplomat, obviously, but I mean, it's sad. There's 500,000 people maybe dead now. You know, there's probably $1 trillion worth of damage already caused in Ukraine, and like in Eastern Europe, apparently historically over the centuries, borders move back and forth all over the place. Mm-hmm. There are different empires, and Like I'm no history buff.
Listen, I agree with you 100%.
Like
it's absolutely horrendous what's happening in Ukraine. And listen, there's Russian soldiers being sent to their inevitable death over the front line, effectively sent as cannon fodder. The same in previous wars. Ukrainians as well fighting a proxy war with Western weapons. And no one's talking about peace. It's horrendous. And yet there are families just like you and me, right? Okay, we might be from different countries, different accents, right? But we still can imagine what it's like if our son or daughter was sent away at 18, 19, never to return again. I mean, it's senseless. For what, like? And even if Russia are given the east of Ukraine, what have they got? A pile of rubble. The only thing bombs do at this stage is make the rubble hop up and down in the spot. There's nothing there to own or defend any longer. And I would just love to see, and we talked about this in Brussels last week, you know, someone, maybe even it could have been Ireland if we hadn't nailed our flag to the mast as we have, to try and broker some sort of a peace. I mean, look, even the Chinese intervention has been completely poo-pooed, it seems, by Ukraine and the West more generally. It's horrendous. Okay, let's get back to the first point just as we wrap it up then, Raymond. So, I mean, do you believe then that this action against Putin is completely political motivated? If, though, that being said, you're in favour of democracy and you want as much as possible for the leadership to be clean, and there are, you know, there's pretty serious. At the end of the day, he did have a bit of a set to, let's say, with Stormy, right? And he did pay her to silence the story. We know that. He's admitted that as much as his legal team have. Is that not worth investigating if he is to be the leader once again of the most powerful nation, we're told, in the world?
Greg, with all due respect, so please understand, this stuff with Stormy Daniels or whatever her real name is, that's not her real name, is 7 years old. It's been out there for a very, very long time. There's other women out there. Like, how do you put it diplomatically? You know, the man can't keep his trousers zippered.
Yep.
Okay. Like, I don't approve of anything of that. Period. Full stop. Okay. Trump is a scoundrel when it comes to his personal life. All right. So, like, I'm not into that realm of, stuff. I'm just not. But like, they don't care about that, because if you then look at the current president, he's got stuff too. Ugly stuff.
Yeah.
That a lot of it's been covered up.
But that was what I was saying earlier on, you see. I mean, they're all one's as bad as the other.
No, and a lot of people, prominent people, U.S. senators, congressmen, I mean, they don't have clean, we'd call it rap sheets.
And come here, would you be, if you had the opportunity, would you be down if President Biden does visit Ireland, given that you've got dual citizenship, would you be standing on the side of the road waving your flag as he passed?
No, I'm look, I don't want to put Joe Biden down. When you get to be, when people want to be president of the United States, I'm no psychiatrist. I think there's a lot of ego issues at play, and there were issues with the Good Friday Agreement that I had personally. I had reluctantly supported it, but there are issues, and there are issues all over the place in here. There are fudges all over the place. People didn't want to do it, and now they're complaining about what do you call it? Oh, what's the thing in the north now about the Northern Ireland the protocol? And like, they're all fudges in here, and it's just there are conflicts of interest. Yeah. It's like but look, your son or daughter.
As I say, Raymond, though, I mean, even whether it's Biden or Putin, I was going to say Biden or Trump in power, they are only there and put in there with money to serve the interests of others, not you or me either. That's, again, why I don't really find myself getting very passionate about the whole thing. If I thought someone could go into a position of power, right, and make life better for ordinary people, yeah, fantastic. But every crisis, the Ukraine war, the COVID crisis, name any crisis you like, the richer get richer, the politicians get richer. And you and me argue the toss about which one of them should be in power, and it doesn't put you or me up or down. It is only they and those that they serve that benefit, which is why I find it hard to get too passionate about politics sometimes, Raymond.
No, Greg, I totally agree with you. Like on Ukraine, the United States has already pumped in something on the order of $200 billion. That's billion. That's not million, it's billion. No, yeah, $200 billion. And like in the old days, $1 million was a lot of money. Now it's $1 trillion.
Yeah, but the reason
with a T.
And part of the problem why the world's suffering inflation is that they don't. I mean, obviously they borrow money, but they print it. And if you keep printing money and creating more money, right, that isn't earned or has no source, inflation goes through the roof, and then you raise interest rates to combat the inflation. It's crazy. Raymond, listen, thanks for your insights. I understand where you're coming from, and it's an interesting conversation, and I view it almost as a soap opera rather than anything else, because that's just sometimes how it feels to me. But I appreciate your views, Raymond, and it's good to have a chat to you again. Take care of yourself. That is Raymond. He's a listener with dual citizenship. Any views? 086 60 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
If you're thinking of changing your washing machine, consider the brilliant 8kg 1400 spin washer from Blomberg. Raymond Sweeney here at Ben Sweeney Euronics. If you often need laundry washed in a hurry, this brilliant washing machine will get your daily clothes clean and fresh in under 30 minutes, saving money on your energy bills and giving you back valuable time. It also comes with a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in to us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
For confirmation and First Communion, there's a great selection of suits, casual wear and footwear at Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top brands include 1880 Club, Diesel and Tommy Bow Footwear, all at great prices. Stand out for the big day at Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and at watsonmenswear.com.
Teagasc, Donegal, in association with ICBF and Borbia, are holding a suckler breeding farm walk on Thursday, 6th of April at 6 p.m. on the farm of Neville Miles, Ballyshannon, F94A3Y5. Topics include the new suckler carbon efficiency programme, maximising cow performance and replacement strategies. All are welcome.
Spring is here, and so too are the new arrivals at Green Shoes. Shop in store or online now from best-selling brands like Doc Martens, Una Healy and Echo. Also Riker, Kate Appleby, Tommy Bow and many more. Shop LK and One for All gift cards accepted in-store. Visit Green Shoes and discover the perfect footwear to complement your style. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
Let me see if we've got time. Yes, it's the final call to win the holiday of a lifetime. It's your last chance to be able to buy a ticket for tomorrow's mega holiday draw. Log on to highlandradio.com and click on Win a Holiday. Simple as that. Greg Hughes will pick the lucky winner who receives a €10,000 holiday worth €5,000 spending money as well. How good is that? Buy your ticket at highlandradio.com or call 9125,000. Lines close 11 a.m. tomorrow.
You're some man for one man, says I to old Mr. Brennan. Next thing they'll be building a big statue of you. Go way out of that, says he. What would they call it? The host with the toast? The power behind the flower? What about your man with the pan, says I. That's a good one. Almost as good as our Brennan's Be Good, or as fresh as our Brennan's family pan. That's why anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us what. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €3.5 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
It's back. McGinty Tractors Open Day, Thursday, 6th of April from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the Clare Road, Donegal Town. Don't miss out on the largest selection of tractors and farm machinery on show, exclusively at McGinty Tractors Open Day on Thursday, 6th of April from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Visit McGintyTractors.com.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Now, some outbreaks of rain will linger through this morning, but the afternoon, the most persistent rain will clear eastwards and decent sunny spells and just a few showers will follow from the west. Highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. Right, okay. We are joined on the programme now by Sarah. Good morning to you, Sarah.
Good morning, Greg.
How are you feeling?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay, right. Now, you had quite an exciting Sunday on the 12th of March.
We did indeed. I know, it was very unexpected.
So talk to me how the day unfolded for you, Sarah.
Well, it was just a normal Sunday. We were planning to go out for Sunday lunch out to Ballyliffin. And then around 2 o'clock I started to get cramps, small cramps. I wasn't too concerned. And then by the time my husband came back from the town, they were getting more severe, but 2:30. I rang the hospital and said I was having the cramps, and they said to come on up for a check, to get checked out. So I went up and we're on the way. And around 3 o'clock, 3:15, we left Cairn to go to Letterkenny, and then got as far as Quigley's Point, and then the pains were getting more severe, like really bad. Then my waters broke. Then we had to pull in the True Strait, and then I gave birth there about 3:30.
Wow. And come here, at that time, Sarah, though, I mean, it must have been very stressful and worrying for you.
It was really, really, like, we were scared, like, that anything could have happened or went wrong. But I suppose the adrenaline took over and we had no choice, really, but to get on with it at the same time.
I get you. It's Christopher he wasn't waiting. That's just the bottom line.
He wasn't waiting, no, he was in a hurry.
Yes, indeed he was. So when he was actually born, was it just you and your partner had the first responders arrived at that point?
No, it's just me and my husband. He'd rang 999 on the way down on Quigley's Point, but lost contact somewhere with the bad coverage in that area. But then we got through to the Northern Irish one, and then they talked through the whole birth thing, and then we got to True Strait.
My word!
But he was born before the first responder arrived.
And come here, what's your husband's name again? Sorry.
Jonathan.
And Jonathan had to do the role of the midwife, effectively.
He did.
And was he any good at it?
He was. No, he's great. He was very calm, and he everything happened. Everything went well, thank God.
Oh, well, thank God. Fair play to all three of you. So then Christopher is born, and were you obviously, he started crying and all that kind of stuff, and you still in the car. And then how long before the first responders arrived?
About 15 minutes later, after he was born. And Jonathan then had to cut the umbilical cord.
Oh, Jonathan did that too?
Attached at that stage. Yeah, he did that too.
Wow.
When he got.
And obviously then the first responders came and they were able to just confirm to you and give you peace of mind that everything at that point was okay, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
And then you were transported to hospital?
Ambulance landed then about 5 minutes after he did, and we were taken to hospital then. We landed in hospital about 4:30, 4:45. That's when I was happy then. I kind of burst into tears at that stage. I thought everything just kind of came to a head.
Yeah, because that pressure was sort of released a little bit for you because you had other people there, medical professionals that would just make sure Christopher was okay and everything went smoothly.
That's it. Yeah.
Who'd have thought that you'd have ended up travelling from Quigley's Point to Letterkenny with Christopher on the outside rather than on the inside?
I know.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It's crazy.
All right, okay. And had you decided on the name Christopher beforehand, or did that come to you afterwards and any particular meaning to it?
No, I discussed it before. We discussed the name before. I actually like that name.
Beautiful.
I don't know why, because we have an Anthony. I thought Christopher would be nice.
Oh, yeah, that's two lovely names, Christopher and Anthony. Yeah, they really go together well, don't they?
Yeah.
And anyone out there, don't be calling them Chris and Anto. Sarah's called them Christopher and Anthony, and that's their names, okay? Well, you'll always call them that anyway, no matter how old they get. It'll be Christopher, Anthony, come here, put your clothes in the basket. And how old is Anthony?
Anthony's 19 months. He was 19 months on the 1st of April.
Isn't that they're almost like twins. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Anthony came early, so we expected Christopher to come a bit earlier too.
Yeah.
But he came 4 days before the due date.
But your timing's great because Anthony's now is just starting to become an absolute little nightmare. What did he think when he saw Mum and Dad landing with Christopher into the house? I'd say he took a few looks, did he?
I think it took a few days to get used to having him here.
Yeah.
He was just looking at this thing and what it was and crying, and I thought it was a doll to him.
And why is Mummy not constantly carrying me anymore? What's going on here? There's someone else splitting it. And how's Christopher getting on now? We're almost a month on, so he's still brand new, but I'd say getting stronger and bigger every day.
Yeah, he's getting great. No, he's brilliant. He loves to sleep and loves his bottles and keeps them between his feet, which is great.
Isn't that good? And you're sleeping when he's sleeping, I hope, are you?
Yeah. At times, yeah.
I was going to say, people tell you to do that, but come here, the chances are non-existent.
I know.
I know.
I know, yeah.
And come here, when was Christopher actually due?
On the 15th of March, he was due.
Okay, so he was right on time, although 3 days early, but they got the dates spot on. Because nowadays they pick a date or they judge a date, don't they, early in the pregnancy, and they stick to it. It doesn't matter, even if you feel that he's a bit bigger than he should be or a bit small, they stick to a date, and that's that. But he arrived pretty much on time, cooked, oven ready, and away to go. Well, listen, it's a beautiful story. Fair play to Jonathan, actually, for keeping his cool and being down the business end while all you just had to do was sit there.
I know.
I'm only joking. Well, listen, you've a beautiful family, all safe and sound at home, and I'm delighted to hear it. And fair play to, as I say, you primarily, Jonathan, and then the first responders and the ambulance, and then the crew when you get there that were able to give you that bit of space just to process it all. It's a wonderful story, Sarah. Anything you want to add or say?
No, we can't remember the name of the first responder that attended the scene, but we want to thank him very, very much. He was such a nice man. I think he's from Bundoran, but I just don't remember his name at the time.
No problem. Well, listen, someone or some of his colleagues are going to be listening, and I'm sure we'll put a name to that person. But listen, Sarah, thanks so much for sharing the joy. It's a beautiful story, and thankfully everything went so well. And you'll not sell that car in a rush. You're going to have to keep that. You'll not be trading that one in.
Yeah, that's the memory of it.
Okay, listen, best wishes to everyone, to Jonathan, to Anthony, and Christopher and yourself, and enjoy your Easter.
Okay, thank you very much, Greg.
All right, Sarah, and thanks for chatting to us. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Isn't that lovely? And you can imagine how anxious you would be, because anyone who's been through a birth that didn't exactly go to plan knows that it doesn't always work out that way, and you need those professionals on hand. But thankfully, Christopher, he was ready to come out, and out he came. Jonathan helped, of course, did a big job there. All right, let's read some of your comments here. People can say what they want about Donald Trump, but I think if he had still been president, Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine. Okay, well, he invaded Ukraine before he was president, and Donald Trump didn't succeed in pushing him back or anything. But I take your point. As I say, I don't feel passionate enough about it to get dragged into a pro-anti-Trump thing. The way I look at it, and this might be really selfish and naive, as far as I'm concerned, when they get off the plane at Knock Airport, Derry Airport, Belfast or Dublin, they're all Americans and they're all coming here on holidays, and I don't really care whether the Democrats or Republicans, really. Imagine if the Irish people decided to prosecute their politicians. We'd be lucky to have a handful not guilty. Politics is dirty and most are in it for themselves, believes that listener. Another, why are we paying such a large cost for a visit from Joe Biden? All Garda have cancelled. It's no wonder they're leaving the force in droves. All Garda leave has been cancelled. Yeah, indeed. afraid, but it is what you sign up for. You know, I mean, if you are a Garda, you are charged with policing high-profile visits, which do have their benefits. And part of that is, unfortunately, your leave being cancelled. And I'm quite sympathetic to the Gardaí, but you signed up for it, don't you? I honestly think politicians should be banned from social media. The comments they sometimes make are unbelievably stupid. I think, really, I find it quite valuable. Because in that moment when someone has a thought in their head and spews it out onto social media, I think you get a far better insight sometimes than you might from a 15-minute soft interview on RTE. So keep them on social media, I would say, but I respect your point of view. Greg, could anyone please explain to me how rising interest rates is helping ease the pressure people are under? Another letter arrived yesterday informing me that my mortgage payment has increased yet again. This when the price of everything is increased substantially. The only thing not increasing is this country's wages. Could anyone explain how raising interest rates help the normal person? It's all about helping you, I'm afraid. Sorry. The notion is, and I'm not an economist, the idea is that you increase interest rates and it chokes spending to some extent. And if people spend less, it drives prices down, thus reducing inflation. That's the crux of it. So the idea being that your cost of living should reduce if inflation is reduced. But sure, for us suckers, often with mortgages, you know, the gap between the two mortgage payments with a rise in interest rates is far greater or equal to the fall in inflation and the groceries and all that type of stuff. So I don't know who it benefits really, to be honest with you. That's what they say, but a lot of the problems we are facing now are because of the interest rate increase strategy that the US and Europe are employing. Right, sent a picture here of a chair with the following words from George. There is chaos at the ED room at Letterkenny University Hospital. Dozens of people have been left waiting between 12 and 30 hours, having to sit in awful, uncomfortable seats, not even trolleys, which can only be described as intolerable discomfort, with inpatient beds described as being like hen's teeth. The conditions are disastrous and the department is most definitely understaffed. Now, here's a picture of the seats for those that are watching. Now, the majority of you aren't, so I'm going to explain what they are. And to be honest with you, they aren't the worst seats I've sat on in ED. The last time I was down there, it was like metal seats that you see at a bus station. But still, in all, 12 to 30 hours on that seats. I'm not in any way mitigating the, and I couldn't, the awful discomfort. People waiting, 20, 30 hours for x-rays and what have you. It's a tough situation down there. There's just no doubt about it. Right, now, at Homeland, on Saturday, the 8th of April, this is Homeland in Letterkenny. There's an Easter fun. That's tomorrow. No, it's not. It's Saturday at Homeland Letterkenny. There's an Easter egg hunt between 12 and 1 p.m. And you can bottle feed a pet lamb between 12 and 1 p.m. and 3 and 4 p.m. Donations on the day are in aid of Bumbulance. So if you're around Letterkenny, you want to support Bumbulance, get along to Homeland in Letterkenny for Easter fun. The wee ones can bottle feed a lamb between 12 and 1 and 3 and 4. And there is an Easter egg hunt, another day, an Easter egg hunt between 12 and 1 p.m. And you're supporting the Bumbulance. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
Visit the Inishowen Co-op home build event at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Saturday, April 15th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Meet the suppliers for expert advice on all your home build needs. MICA support available on the day. See Facebook for more details.
If I learned one thing in the last year, it's that falling into debt can happen to anyone. Luckily, I heard about the ISI, the Insolvency Service of Ireland. Their professional advisors can help you restructure or even write off your debt. The first thing they said to me was, every debt problem has a solution. I can still feel the relief. So if you're worried, visit their website backontrack.ie or free text Get Help to 50015.
The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 9132033.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to roll out the red carpet and celebrate the best and brightest in the business world for the Highland Radio Customer Service Awards in association with PGM Ireland.
From your local community centre to your favourite pet shop or your friendly dentist, we're recognising the businesses who are making a difference in your community.
This award is a great way to show your appreciation for the businesses that make a difference in your life.
But you better act fast. The deadline for entries is just around the corner. So visit our website and nominate now. Nominations close this Friday, the 7th of April.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. The Women of Honour Group says a new Garda operation to investigate sexual assault in the Defence Forces is generally positive, but questions remain over how past complaints were dealt with. They say they were unaware until this morning that the national operation has been set up. The Garda Commissioner announced its establishment yesterday evening, saying he's committed to pursuing predators within the Defence Forces. Diane Byrne, retired Army captain and member of the Women of Honour Group, says what happened to the 26 past complaints needs to be addressed.
The glance I've seen of it in the papers, it generally is something we would welcome. But in all honesty, there's a lot of confusion here. This is the first we're hearing about it. We've had no communication, no collaboration. It seems very fast, bearing in mind we don't really know what's happened up to this point. There are obviously other complaints that have gone in there, and we do need to establish what happened there.
Donegal County Council is to seek an urgent meeting with Transport Minister Eamon Ryan to press for a specific road funding grant to make the Windy Hall Road in Letterkenny safe for all road users. Councillor Jerry McMonigal will formally move a motion seeking a delegation with the Minister at a Letterkenny Milford Municipal District meeting next week. On Thursday of last week, a number of members and engineers visited the area at 8:30 in the morning. Councillor McMonigal says what they saw reinforced his belief that this is one of the most dangerous roads in Donegal.
I don't think I'd be overemphasising it and saying it's probably the most dangerous road in Donegal at the minute, with the volume of traffic that's on it and pedestrians trying to use it to get to access their schools and places of work. So I think it's very, very important that we get down to see the Minister, get them up to have a look at the road itself, to show them at first hand we would come up the need for this specific road grant to allow us to make this road safer for not only car users but also for pedestrians.
A government bid to clamp down on short-term lets on Airbnb has hit a stumbling block. It's understood the EU believes the proposals are too restrictive and would make it too hard for holiday sites to do business here. The government had been hoping to free up thousands of homes being advertised on Airbnb for short-term stays. Disagreement and insults characterised the early days of talks, which eventually led to the Good Friday Agreement. That's according to the chair of the all-party talks, as the 25th anniversary of the historic accord is being marked. The aim was to bring about an end to the troubles that claim thousands of lives in Northern Ireland and beyond. Senator George Mitchell chaired the discussions. He says they got off to a very difficult start.
Some of them said under no circumstances would they sit in talks if Sinn Féin entered them. There was really very little progress. It was mostly just disagreement and insults and invective and allegations back and forth.
We could get details today of US President Joe Biden's itinerary for his visit to Ireland. It's understood he could make a public address in Ballina, County Mayo next week, which is home to his ancestral family. Advanced teams have been in the Republic and north of the border preparing for Mr. Biden's 5-day visit to mark the 25th anniversary of the agreement. He's expected to visit Dublin, Belfast, Mayo and Louth. He has been invited to Donegal by a congressman with ties to the county, but it's not thought likely at this point that will happen. 21 new extrajudicial positions are to be created under a bill going to Cabinet this morning. Ministers will also approve a forum to discuss Ireland's neutrality. Political correspondent Sean Defoe has been looking at today's Cabinet agenda.
Justice Minister Simon Harris is bringing a bill based on the recommendations of the Judicial Planning Working Group, which will create 21 new judges across the District, Circuit and High Court, as well as the Court of Appeal. Taoiseach and Foreign Affairs Minister Micheál Martin is looking for approval to set up a forum on Ireland's foreign policy in the 21st century, which will certainly discuss the position of Irish neutrality after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He'll also ask for the Defence Forces to be allowed to send a vessel as part of an EU security project blocking arms from being imported into Libya. Cabinet will approve the creation creation of a new child poverty unit in the department of the Taoiseach, which will be tasked with addressing, among other things, family homelessness. While the Finance Minister Michael McGrath will update colleagues on plans to join the Global Corporation Tax Agreement and minimum rate of 15%, while Minister Eamon Ryan will submit plans to slash VAT on solar panels in order to reduce the average cost of installation by up to £1,000.
Weather forecasts: a dull and damp start this morning. Some outbreaks of rain will linger through the morning, but by this afternoon, the most persistent rain will have cleared eastwards. You can expect decent sunny spells this afternoon, just a few showers following from the west, with top temperatures today 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, the 5th of April. The death has occurred of Fonzie Donaghy, Doe, 54, Cockhill Park, Buncrana. Fonzie's remains are reposing at his residence, with funeral from there on Friday morning at 10:30 for service at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Cockhill, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Mass for Fonzie will take place at 11 o'clock on Sunday. Both the funeral service and the Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The death has taken place of Jane Baird, née McCarran, Hawthorne Cottage, Drumnahoe, Letterkenny, formerly of Lisfannon, Fawn. Jane's remains will repose at Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountaintop, Letterkenny, tomorrow from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Removal from there on Friday morning at 8:30, going to St Mary's Church, Fawn, for 10 o'clock funeral liturgy, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Private cremation will take place later. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Relay for Life, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Kathleen Mulhern, née Rolston, Gortachar, Crossroads, Killygordon. Remains reposing at her late residence from 5 o'clock this evening. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 10:15 for service in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon at 10:30, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The service will be streamed live on the St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon YouTube channel. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Breed Logan, née Coley, Town Parks Rafo, formerly of Tallahill, Belmullet, County Mayo. Wake is strictly private, please, to family only, at the request of the deceased. Funeral from her residence at Town Parks Rafo tomorrow morning at 10:20, going to St Eunan's Church, Rafo, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed online via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice or Mary's Meals, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Owen McCulloch, 156 Brookfield Terrace, Malin. Owen's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 12:15 for funeral service at 1 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Lag, Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Coronary Care Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. Owen's funeral service can be viewed live on the Malin Head Community Facebook page. The death has taken place of Kathleen Doherty, 3, Millfield, Buncrana, and formerly of Carn, Malin Head. Remains reposing at her late residence in Carn, Malin Head. Funeral from there this afternoon at 1:30, going to Star of the Sea Chapel, Malin Head, for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Lag Cemetery, Malin. The unexpected death has taken place of 5-year-old Caden Coyle McGeady, Chapel Road, Brinallack. His remains are reposing at his residence from 1 o'clock this afternoon, with rosary at 8 o'clock this evening. Funeral service in Chalkpubble, Columkill, Knockfulla, tomorrow morning at 11, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral service can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. House private pleas after the rosary tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only pleas, donations in lieu to the Children's Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Kieran Rorty, funeral director. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Great special offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Housekeeper's Cut, save 33%. Graham Norton Sauvignon Blanc, €10. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. So, follow the 1, 2, 3 and save money at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning. If you're just tuning in, how are you keeping? Interesting first hour. I hope you would agree. Chatted to Sarah about Christopher being born. A texter says in a car at Quigley's Point, great to hear the new baby arrived safely. Just to say, Christopher is the patron saint of motorists. I wondered, did Sarah and Jonathan know that? Because they had Christopher selected before. You know the way you do. You don't have it locked in, but you like the name and you think, right, if it suits, it suits. Well, Christopher apparently is the patron saint of motorists, which is kind of interesting, I think. A caller says it's a matter of record that George Bush Sr.'s administration tried hard to preserve the integrity of the Soviet Union under Gorbachev because of fears of instability. It wasn't until the coup against Gorbachev destroyed his authority that America backed Ukraine independence. All right, thank you for that. Energia are offering a 10% discount to new customers, which is not the case, says this caller. This picture above, and I'll read the picture's text to you, shows that their rate is 0.4, which is taken from my last bill. The picture below shows they are saying it's 0.48 and it's 0.43 with the 10% discount, a clear con job, they say. Right, okay, so it seems there or thereabouts as to where you were before. Okay, well, shop around. The only problem is that I seem to be I'm a big advocate of shopping around, and I did shop around again because my year was up, and the company I'm currently with is the cheapest out there, it seems, which is a bit of a bummer. Trump was meant to drain the swamp, but he filled it with his own cronies, says Kevin. But one by one, they left when it got too much for them. As Raymond had said, he's a drain on the New York economy, as he's meant to stay in Fort David, but businesses in New York can't get around for security. Mar-a-Lago had doubled its capacity, so paying to cozy up with him. Elliot Ness couldn't find a way to nail down Al Capone, only for an astute agent caught him out on tax evasion. Maybe the same will happen again. Another, Trump is like so many of them in America, untrustworthy. Or politics in general, maybe. Hi, Greg. I got a massive bill from Electric Ireland for 1 month after installing the smart meter. I was only a customer for 4 months, but the bill had units owed back to February 2022, when I didn't live in the house. These meters are causing high bills being sent to customers. There seems to be a problem with some people receiving wrong bills from Electric Ireland, generally speaking. I'm not saying this isn't connected to smart meters, but we did have a call yesterday from someone who was accidentally charged an extra €108 or something like that there, so we have to keep our eyes on these things. I just think the electricity bills could be made a little bit more clearer for us to track exactly what's going on. Hi, Greg. My baby was just over a year old when she contracted the herpes virus. She was ill to the point that they thought her airway was going to close. It was such an awful time for us. Thankfully, she made a full recovery, but so glad to hear this being discussed on the programme to raise people's awareness of this. And what we were talking about yesterday, and as I do like to say, we don't want to do anything, even if it gets lots of listeners or views or likes or whatever, that scares people. We only want to inform people as best as possible along the lines of what we're being told. And yesterday, and I posted it up on my own Facebook page, and it's on the Highland page as well, we had an interview with a lady who is a pharmacist, and the conversation was about, should you kiss a newborn baby? Or not yourself, of course, mum and dad and what have you. We're on about relations and visitors and neighbours coming in. Everyone holds the baby and maybe gives it a wee kiss and all. Bottom line is the best advice, it seems, is to view the baby for the first 2 or 3 months. In its 4th trimester, it's still developing, and it's got some immunity and antibodies, but not for what the world has out there. One particular issue is kissing and herpes, just a cold sore. If that transfers to the baby, it can be really very damaging. And in this caller's case, at a 1 year of age, which is still a wee nipper, they had a real touch and go experience. And if the reason I shared it then on my Facebook page as well as the Highland page is that it might be difficult for mum and dad to have that conversation, and maybe people going to visit a newborn baby will see the interview or have heard it and thought, you know what, you can still be supportive and there and have a look at the baby and Gucci goo, but just don't risk maybe passing something on to it, really is the message. All right, 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and texts to that number. In about 24 hours, the lines are going to close on our holiday competition. It's the big Highland Radio giveaway. We have a €10,000 holiday voucher, and I'm sorry to keep mentioning this. I just want to make sure that anyone who wants to get involved doesn't miss out. And of course, it's all about whether you have the money and can afford it and it's within your means. I know that, I understand that. But maybe you do have a tenner that you want to have a punt on this competition with. €15,000 in total to be given away tomorrow. €10,000 holiday voucher. And €5,000 in spending money, but that's cash. That's cash straight into your pocket for you to spend whenever you want. You know, it's not connected to the holiday in reality. Okay, so that's $5,000 cash straight to you. Then a €10,000 holiday voucher. What can you do with that? One big splurge. I don't know where you would go. Wherever you want to go, you could book a holiday through Atlantic Travel and daisy chain around the world to the point where your 10,000 is exhausted, or you could go back and forwards for 4 days on long weekends to Spain, Portugal, wherever, until such time as the €10,000 runs out. You'll get a lot of those types of holidays, I think. So get your tickets now, highlandradio.com. One ticket's a tenner. You can get 6 for 50, 10 for 80, so they get cheaper the more you buy. As I say, group in with family members and buy the 5 for 50 and keep the free one yourself. Do you know what I mean? You can work it out yourself, whatever way you want to do it. Our website's highlandradio.com. It's fully safe and secure. Just click the link. But if you don't buy stuff online and you don't want to miss out, call us now. We can take your call right now. Get you your ticket. You'll have your ticket number. It goes straight into the Trombola, which is here in studio with me. Call us on 07491 25,000 and we will hook you up.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, April 5th. You're playing on a blue coloured sheet. The reference number is S8. It's game number 14. The numbers are 62, 42, the number 6, 30, 82, 66, 33, 68, 61 and 20. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
New applications for school transport tickets for the 2023-24 school year are now open until Friday the 28th of April. All new applicants, including students changing school, must apply before the 28th of April deadline. A late application may mean that a ticket is not available. To apply for your child's ticket and to see details of eligibility and payment, go to buserin.ie/school transport. An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
All footwear is reduced to clear in the big closing down sale at McGarrigle Shoes, Letterkenny. All men's shoes and boots must go. Also, all ladies' footwear at knockdown prices. In the closing down sale, now on at McGarrigle Shoes, Main Street, Letterkenny.
For over 20 years, CarZone has been the trusted name in Ireland's motoring marketplace, bringing 1 million car buyers and sellers together every month. And now, buying or selling a car has never been easier on CarZone with expert tools and advice. Download the CarZone app or check out carzone.ie. CarZone, Ireland's trusted motoring marketplace.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at
10 minutes past 19. You're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show here in Highland Radio. Sean Quinn, our head of sales, is in studio with us because we want to make sure that nobody... I'm going to adjust this camera because you look about 3 foot tall.
So you made me look dull.
No, you look no. It's not, because it's just your head, right? And then you look like your little voice on a little chair, right? So anyone watching, he's just grown significantly. We're in just having a quick final reminder for people on this programme of the Customer Service Awards. The nominations close this Friday. Now, this is a little initiative that is not little by any means, that has had a unbelievable response, Sean, and it's great to see. And the whole point of this, and if I'm misframing this, correct me, was to recognise the brilliant work that the brilliant service that the businesses of the Northwest provide. And I think the level of interest in entrants is testimony to the fact that, you know, we have amazing services out there and we're celebrating them.
Absolutely, Greg. Yeah, it's gone bananas. It's exceeded where we thought it would be. There's close to 15,000 nominations across all the 52 categories. So it's just been unbelievable, and I think there's still more to come. Hence the reason I'm here now, just to say, if you haven't done it, this is your opportunity to still do it before tomorrow. But yeah, it's just been incredible.
And what I liked about it too is that obviously there are parent categories.
Yes.
But, you know, you were very extensive in covering all different types of services, right? But other people were suggesting things, and it, you know, the capacity was there to say, oh yeah, no problem, that's included under this category. And do you know what I mean? So it was fluid as the first initiative of its kind. I think here in the Northwest, it's really quite remarkable. But it grew sort of organically, didn't it?
Well, we soon found out the ones we missed.
Yeah,
because we were asked to add to them. So we actually went from 50 awards in the 6 categories to 52. So that there at this stage, really most things, I think 99.9%, they're there. You can go, you can vote. It's very simple to do it. It's free of charge. And it's very easy just to fill in the nomination form. We don't need a big description. You don't need to go into a story. It's just a quick reason why. As I said, and the health and beauty has just been incredible. It really has been. And so has retail. You know, there's a couple that we would like to have a few more. Our community and professional services.
Well, break that down for me then, because, you know, sometimes I need to be spoon-fed stuff. So give us some examples of businesses then in the community and professional services category.
Yep. So we've got the creche and Montessori, community centres, not-for-profit organisations, financial services and institutions, dentists. We could do with a few extra dentists, to be honest with you. Insurance brokers, solicitors, opticians, trade persons, and photographers. So there's a couple there that we could do with more.
Yeah.
Just to
I mean, like, I love dentists, you know, but like, I'm not thinking.
My dentist is my friend.
I know, but I'm thinking going to the dentist, right? And you love them. Right, but he's ripping the tooth out your head.
Then charge you for it.
Yeah, and then you think, right, shall I go on the internet and say that was great? But listen, because you know they're brilliant and you get great service and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes it's just not. But listen, maybe that dentist got you the dig out. Maybe they got you in when you were in acute pain or something, or someone in your family, or you thought that your teeth couldn't be saved or whatever it might be. I know I'm being kind of obvious here, but maybe they also deserve a little bit of love. So go on to highlandradio.com and give your preferred dentist a thumbs up, so to speak. So there are 6 categories, 52 subcategories. Do you want to mention the sponsors, actually? Because I think that's really, I do really like to do our bit in recognising, you know, that support from business as well.
Absolutely. And I made a call to PGIM initially when I was thinking about the awards, and they came on board straight away.
They're the anchor sponsor.
They're the anchor sponsor. They're the main sponsor. And they've been a pleasure to work with thus far, and I know they will be going forward. So that we had then is we had the individual categories, and our health and beauty is sponsored by iMotors, the lifestyle category is by MCM Brands, our retail category is by Healthwise Pharmacy Group, the motor is Hickey Clock and Langan, and the community professional services is by Donegal Airport, And finally, the house and home category is heating and cooling. So there's a nice link and consistency with those types of businesses as well.
And look, no business is too big or no business is too small. If they provide you a service and you want to recognise the service that they provide to you, to give them a bit of a boost, well then get onto our website, highlandradio.com, click the link. It's a short, simple process. We aren't looking for 5 or 6 paragraphs, just a few kind words to recognise the service that our businesses provide across the Northwest. And as I said it before, local business is so important to a community in terms of employing our young people. Is there anyone in this studio or anyone listening who's young people, or whether they're your sons or daughters or your nephews and nieces aren't working or got their start in a local business, or that local business is supporting your local GA club, for example, or soccer club or what have you? And it's good for us then to sort of say, you know what, we appreciate you too, really.
Big time.
That's what I see in it.
Big time. Absolutely. And this is a great opportunity to do this now. If you haven't done it, if you're thinking of doing it, you've got today and tomorrow to do it.
Is there a radio station category?
No, we would just give that to ourselves on the night. We'll create the 53rd award for ourselves.
And so can you tell us anything about the night yet, or is that still in the planning?
No, it's all arranged, the 28th of May. So the process is now, we'll close off the nominations tomorrow. We'll go through a shortlisting process. We will send out questionnaires to those that have been shortlisted, and then they will then be sent to the judges.
And can I say something on that? Because I know it's not a challenge. It's not a challenge that can't be overcome. But great effort, correct me again, Sean, if I'm wrong, great effort has been put into ensuring that the judging panel is independent, that these are external to all the businesses, even the areas of business or whatever, as much as is humanly possible, so that, not that it would happen any other way, but just for transparency, if we're going to do it, might as well do it right, that it's an independent person that will have no connection to any of the businesses and scores them on their merit, so to speak.
Yeah, and we've actually been very selective on that process as well, to make sure that there's no connection with that company, because we would rather have that the winner is the winner for the right reasons, and that will absolutely be the case here. So I'm not ready to announce the judges, but we're very close on doing that. I'd rather close off the nomination process first.
Listen, come here, we drip feed it. Who's the compere? Who's the host? Can you reveal that?
Can't reveal that yet. There will be what we'll probably, it's because obviously we're a radio station, we'll do a lot of that ourselves, and I'm sure you'll be involved in it at some stage, Greg. But you're shortlisted. That's the good news. You're shortlisted to present it. I can tell you no more than that at the moment.
I would not be comfortable presenting it. I will have a role if you want, but I don't know. Come here, it doesn't matter anyway. We'll sort it out one way or other. Okay, so it's going to be, I think it's a wonderful initiative. I've said this before, and I think it's great to recognise the service that these companies provide to us, and the level of engagement, almost 15,000 votes. That's really, really impressive. A good spread of businesses across the region?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's as I said, I've mentioned a couple that we could do more with, but the rest, there's hundreds.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure Donegal Town, Killybegs, Ardra, Dunlow,
the whole county,
Car, everywhere.
The whole county is involved in this.
I want you to nominate your business wherever they are across the region. All right, brilliant stuff. Anything else you want to mention? Well, just the bottom line is nominations close on the 7th, which is Friday.
Yep.
Go on to our website, highlandradio.com, click the link. It's a simple process. There's 6 categories and then 52 subcategories at this point, and you'll find what you're looking for in there. Any issues, give us a ring, 07491 25000 if you're struggling to find, which you won't, but just if there's any problems, give us a call. We're here to help. That's our customer service for you. All right, and do we know, are you coming in to give away this 15 grand tomorrow? I can't imagine you missing it.
I can't, no, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. As in having travelled a few cities in the last week, I was in London for a few days. What did you
think of it?
London, I was blown away by it.
Clean, isn't it?
It's so clean.
Yeah.
I could not believe it.
When we went over last year for, I think it was at the invite of the mayor of the time, I was remarkable. We remarked how clean it was.
Yeah,
train stations, roads, streets,
everywhere, Greg. Everywhere.
I was in Brussels last week. Oh my God, the opposite.
Yeah, I was the same. I was in Edinburgh and Glasgow last week, and I was disappointed in Edinburgh, and that's hard for me coming from Edinburgh. Glasgow I thought was cleaner, but London just blew me away. It was, and it's so busy. It's seriously busy. But everywhere you go, there's no litter.
Yeah,
absolutely no litter.
It really is quite remarkable, and quite a strong police presence where I was as well, probably following me to make sure I didn't do anything wrong. And also another interesting thing about Brussels is they've got this initiative whereby they have gone absolutely nuts on electric bikes and scooters. But you abandon them anywhere.
Yeah,
like there's scooters just lying on their side on the pavement. You wouldn't believe it unless you've seen it. Electric bikes up against walls. It's like I think on your app, you just book it and you get on it and away you go, and then you just leave it wherever you are. But there's not parking spaces for them. They're just literally littered around the place.
Which I think amazed me. I've been to London.
That's the future.
I've been to London loads of times, Greg, right? But it's always been on business. I've never been the tourist. And I couldn't believe the lack of traffic in the actual city centre. It seems to be
congestion charge for
it must be. It must be, because in the city, there was more bikes when you're talking about bikes, and it's so easy to walk around. It was I have to say now, it was a pleasure and not overly expensive.
Right.
So if I won 10,000, which I can't win, I would go back to London for another few days.
And you could do that multiple times as well.
Yes.
Because this is your 10 grand holiday voucher to dip in and out of as you see fit at your leisure, and the €5,000 cash for your back pocket as well.
Last chance today and tomorrow. We'll probably close the lines just after 11 tomorrow. So
all right, get your tickets if you want to now. €10 can get you one ticket. We've had a couple of winners that have won on one ticket. We've had a few winners that have won on multiple tickets. It's completely up to you. I don't know if you I'm going to get slapped on the wrist, but if it were me, I would get, if I thought I'd get 4 friends together, tenner each, extra ticket, boom.
That's the one that'll win. You never know.
€8 ahead or something, €7 or €9 ticket. All right.
And you can split the holidays then. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah, for sure.
€2,500 each.
Well, listen, if you win a €10,000 voucher, you can take your family somewhere. Like, you could take a lot of your family down to Lanzarote for a week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the kind of scope you will have.
Guaranteed sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. All right. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and text that number. Sean, thanks once again. Don't forget, we want you to get involved in recognising the great service you have from a service provider in your area, businesses, community, whatever it might be, not-for-profit, all that type of stuff. I presume that includes charity shops.
Yes.
I would love to see. I would love to see some of the organisations that support families in different areas getting nominated. I hope they are. I don't want to name them now because it could sound, but people know the ones that I'm very fond of and have an awful lot of respect for. It could be Lifeline in Inishowen, for example, any that recognise what they do in assisting people. So I'm just mentioning things to try and give you an idea of the scope of what we're looking at. It's not too late to get involved. Go to our website, highlandradio.com. All you have to do is click a few links, type a few words. This is in relation to our Customer Services Award. Almost 15,000 of you have already taken part in that, which has blown us away here. Make no mistake about that. But hey, let's get it to 20. Why not? We've got 2 days. Back after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Aoife, I only went and did it.
Stop.
Unlimited data calls and texts.
Go away.
And the first month is free when you switch.
Stop the light.
No contract.
Would you beware?
You'll never guess how much. €15.
No way.
At €15 a month for unlimited calls, texts and 25 gigs of data, it's almost too good to be true. Switch today to your local post office or at unpost.com/mobile. Unpost Mobile. For your world. Fair usage and T's and C's apply. Auto top up €15 for 31 days allowance, otherwise 28 days. See website for details.
Are you still struggling with slow and unreliable broadband? Imagine is connecting thousands of homes to high-speed broadband in your area right now. So why wait? With Imagine rated excellent by Trustpilot, you'll soon be working from home with ease, streaming your favourite shows and sports uninterrupted. Join the thousands of connected homes and businesses today at imagine.ie. Service subject to availability, terms and conditions apply.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See McGee's.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
The
groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
With the brighter days, it's only natural to think about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleetwood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleetwood would, naturally.
Now, just to let you know, police in Derry say the fire service is dealing with a fire at a derelict building in Grantshire Park this morning. Residents are urged to be aware of subsequent dust and smoke. And so please keep doors and windows closed and maybe avoid hanging any washing out until such time as the air clears. Dr. Janice Richmond is advanced nurse practitioner at Letterkenny University Hospital, and I'm sure is delighted to be back up here on the 9 till noon show with me. Good morning to you, Janice. How are you keeping?
I'm very well, Greg. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you with us. Okay, we're going to talk about the oral anti-cancer medication trial. It's delivering care in the community in Donegal. But before we do, can we talk a little bit in general about oral cancer?
These are oral cancer treatments. So it's a medication that for cancer. So you take them orally. They've been around a long time, actually. I mean, they're probably in process for about 20 years or more. So people can take their medication at home. So it's a huge advantage over the old sort of intravenous route that we would have had historically, maybe 30 or 40 years ago, and that would have been the only option that would have been available. So these have been around for a time. They're becoming increasingly popular and familiar, and there's more of them being released really every month or so. There's new ones coming on the market. So I remember when there was one anti-cancer treatment. Now, if you looked up the websites, there's many, tens of them for either oncology or hematology. So they're not really new in themselves, but I suppose the historically people would still have come into the hospital to get these treatments, and that would have involved sitting around a long time, and still in an oncology day ward. So that's what we did, was something slightly different to sort of the old traditional model.
Yeah, and before we talk a little bit more about that, are there different types of oral cancer?
So this is not for oral cancer. This is not oral cancer.
I beg your pardon. I understand what you're saying. Sorry, this isn't.
It's a tablet
that you take orally. My mistake. I beg your pardon.
I mean, there is oral cancer. Don't get me wrong.
No, that's right. And I'll tell you, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I would have heard and know a few cases of that. But listen, we can do that. That's fine. I get where you're coming from. So I was just fixated on getting that information out. Right. Okay. So talk to me then. What type of cancers, or what stage of the treatment process are we taking the medication orally for cancers then? So
there's a variety of different cancers that these would apply to. A lot of bowel cancers, breast cancers, kidney cancers, malignant melanoma, which is a skin cancer, some of the lung cancers. So there is a variety. I mean, I remember when there was just maybe one of those cancers would have had an oral cancer treatment. So they are becoming increasingly prevalent for all the different cancers and at different stages. So some people would take them maybe for a period of about 6 months for curative intent, the likes of some of the bowel cancer patients, and then they would stop them and go on to a period of surveillance. And then other patients who would be more at the palliative stage of their treatment. So this is where we're trying to control the cancer, give them a good quality of life. They would be in some of these oral treatments at that stage.
And I presume each treatment is designed to target particular cancers? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so there's a variety of different methods that these work. Some of them are, they actually kill the cancer exactly. So you take them orally and the body converts them to something that will actually kill the cancer. There's other ones that inhibit how the cancer is actually formed and developed. So there's a variety of different mechanisms, but they're very clever medications, they're very sophisticated.
And just in terms of, do we have the ability now at this point to orally medicate, say for instance, if someone has bowel cancer and there is always going to be concern that it might move to a different part of the body, not specifically that one, but I'm just But can these sort of help to reduce the risk of it spreading from one organ to another, for example?
Yeah. So I suppose I remember maybe, say, 25 years ago when people would have went through their bowel cancer and then they would have come into the ward. It would have been an inpatient procedure where they had intravenous chemotherapy, and that would have been quite tedious. They would have even spent a couple of days in hospital every 2 or 3 weeks for their treatment, and that would have lasted 6 months. So then these oral treatments came on board, I want to say 20 years ago, but, give or take.
Thereabouts, yeah.
So now what happens is they can take these at home, say for 2 weeks of treatment and 1 week off, and they repeat that cycle for a number of weeks and months, and that the hope is that reduces the risk of the cancer coming back in the future.
Right. So, I mean, I don't want to sort of, I don't want to drift off facts, okay? So just indulge me for 30 seconds if that's okay. Then is there not an argument, or are we not at a point maybe sometime in the future that maybe we might take a preventative oral medicine to prevent the onset of cancer? Does it work like that? Well, or could it work like that?
There are trials ongoing looking at the role of certain medications, and I'm not going to name them because people will go quiet and ask their GP for some of these as to whether they can actually prevent cancer in the long term. That data is not really there yet. There is significant pieces of work being done in regard to a cancer vaccine, and if you were to listen to Professor Luke O'Neill, he will talk that very eloquently that in probably your and my lifetime there may be vaccines for certain cancers. We're already seeing it with regard to HPV.
That's true. Of course. With a astonishing success.
Yeah, we will hopefully see the complete eradication of cervical cancer in the future. But Professor Luke O'Neill would say that there's lots of opportunities for that sort of work to be replicated in the future.
Now, there will be people listening to us that will have had cancers, some of them that have been mentioned. This is now back to the oral cancer medication, anti-cancer medication, and that's where I skipped the anti, and that's where my confusion came from. That will say, well, I wasn't offered that. I've been in and out of Derry, or I've been up and down from Galway, and I had to go through the procedures that you explained. So who at this point is being given oral anti-cancer medication, and is it part of the traditional sort of treatment, or is it a different approach? I think you've kind of half answered that, but just to get it all out in the one sentence.
Let me be very clear. This is all evidence driven. It's consultant prescribed. You get the best treatment for your cancer at the correct time and in the correct format. So for some people, they will never get this medication, and that's great. They don't need it. Some people don't need chemotherapy of any sort. Their surgery is enough to remove and treat their cancer, so that's fine. Some of these treatments, they're very new, they're very specific. Some of them have to be given intravenously, through a drip form. And we're getting more and more of them that are orally. But I can't ever see a day coming that we will completely avoid the likes of people needing to go into a day unit and receive an intravenous chemotherapy.
Right, so we're speaking in the context of this trial, which I think you were quite quick to point out. This is not trialling new drugs as such. This is trialling the delivery of it, really, and the patient's experience and the impact on the hospital. So do you want to pick out a couple of key findings from that for us?
So, thank you. So there was a team of actually 15 of us through Letterkenny University Hospital and NUIG that did this piece of work. It was a grant that we received in 2019. And I suppose for a long time we had seen in the hospital that there possibly was a better way to deliver care. The nurses were already identifying this because they were frustrated, and we were frustrated that people were coming for their treatments and sitting around waiting to be seen, and then being told to go home and take your tablets. So the hypothesis was, is there a better way that they could have this treatment processed? So I suppose this wasn't to do with COVID, but COVID actually helped us in this, and as much as we were able to take a cohort of these people out of the hospital, and 2 days a week, myself and a colleague, Mary Grace Kelly, are in a community setting. Now, because this was research, we had to be very clear and it had to be very safe. So the community setting we initially chose was Scally Place. So people will say, well, that's part of the hospital and what have you, and it is theoretically, but it is set up like it is actually a community location. That's how it's is organised, and we set up our clinics to mirror very much a community setting. So we haven't gone too far. We've gone to Letterkenny, but it does take them out of the hospital. It frees up then space for other people who really do need to come to the hospital, because you can't take drip drips at home. You need to come into the hospital. So we did increase capacity, and part of this research was obviously looking at the acceptability of this to patients. How acceptable.
And was there an
they find
initial reluctance in that? Am I getting the same level of treatment? Because often we're talking about, timing is so important. We've been told about that. And of course, as soon as you mention cancer, it invokes, and quite rightly so, sort of life and death sort of emotions. When you were, was it difficult to reassure patients that the level of care or the standard of care was not diminishing in any way, albeit that the delivery was a little bit different?
And that was something that we had to prove. We had to prove, you're quite right, that this was safe and effective. There's no point in having care being delivered somewhere else that's completely unsafe.
We're not testing the efficacy of drugs here.
No, absolutely
exactly,
not.
Yeah.
No. So we're testing, is it safe and effective to take people who are getting these treatments out of the hospital setting into a community location. And there was a number, there was lots of data generated. I'll not bore you with the details, but there was 2 other nurses, Mary Grace Kelly I've already spoke about, and Alison Johnson. So they came and they audited, they charged the prescriptions, the documentation, to make sure that certain parameters were being met and that we were achieving that safety. You asked about resistance. Patients can be very trusting, so
I get that.
I think sometimes nurses' uniform, that whole, they trust where they are. They had to sign a consent form, absolutely, that they went to somewhere else to have their care delivered. But they had that relationship already with us. So I think, I hope they felt safe. We didn't have any refusals. People were very keen to sign up.
Do you think the experience of, taking the parking in the car park, going in through the front door, do you know that sort of anxiety that a lot of us get just by simply being on the grounds of the hospital? I imagine that's beneficial to them, not having to experience that. This is no slight on anything down there, but you know what I mean. The hospital, unless you're having a baby and it goes well, you kind of don't want to be anywhere near there. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that came out in the data that we got. We interviewed initially 10 patients, and then we actually did satisfaction questionnaires on those that came to us in Skelly Place. But it's everything, and you're right about absolutely the car parking. They can get a car parking space. There's a coffee shop below Skelly Place as well.
I hate the hospital. I love the work that it does, don't get me wrong, but it's just my own anxieties. If I could avoid that, even in a very difficult time, I think I would jump at it. And so then the feedback was then really, really positive after the fact then. So what were patients telling you?
So there's a few key findings. People want to be seen largely by the same person each time. The actual professional that they see is not necessarily as important as the same person. They want that continuity. So they spoke very eloquently about, not wanting to go into a room and having somebody flick through their notes that they'd never met before. They wanted to see somebody that knew their case and could carry on from there. They wanted to be seen at a time that was acceptable to them, and I suppose we have the luxury of being quite flexible, and the waiting time that drives people mad, being left to sit and sit and sit, watching everybody else going in front of them and them still sitting there.
And a lot of that can be achieved in a relatively small scale trial. If this were expanded, do you think that kind of sort of flexibility, personal touch would be able to be maintained if this were the norm on a grand scale? I wonder, because their experience is only really relevant if it can be replicated, I suppose, to the masses.
Yeah, I think as soon as you start to widen anything out, there is challenges associated with that. And I suppose in our naivety when we started this, we kind of thought that, ideally we would go even more local to the patient, that I could be, say, in Donegal Town for day, Dunlow, wherever, Buncrana tomorrow, but because we are a small team and we just don't have the luxury of that travel, so we have to bring people to Letterkenny. But I think our research showed that there are certain key things that they want, and that even though you could scale this out and maybe lose or dilute some some potentially, the main cohorts of the main pillars of this would still be there.
So we know from this study that this improves the experience. Is there anything to suggest it improves outcomes?
The actual science and the care, the treatment is the same in the hospital or the community. Yeah. So we're, from an outcome perspective, from a disease perspective, that would be the same whether they're having the treatment in the hospital or in the community. So
which is good, because it's not an improvement or no disimprovement.
Outcomes, I suppose outcomes can be very hard to measure. All that we can say securely in this trial is that this was safe and it was acceptable to the patients.
Okay.
And that's really where we stopped.
Now, this is described as a first of its kind nurse-led oral anti-cancer medication trial. First of its kind for this region, first of its kind for the country?
Well, both in some shape or form. I mean, there's various models throughout Ireland as to how these people are cared for. Some people go to busy outpatient clinics. Some people go to nurse-led clinics where they'd be seen by a clinical nurse specialist. But historically, I suppose, when we developed this concept, and it was pre-COVID, the overwhelming, and I suppose it was in Ireland that it was all hospital based. So this was the idea that we wanted to prove that this was safe and acceptable and effective in a community location, and that was really our brief.
Right, Janice really is something special. She and her team are just angels on the oncology ward. They brought me to health today. I can't thank them enough. Greg, Dr. Richmond is an absolute gem for cancer patients, and another, can I say, great work by Dr. Janice, Mary, Grace, and all the team from Relay for Life Donegal committee. Keep up the great work. So, and it's great to see us too continuing our strong reputation of trials in this trials and research in this region. I think that's and there's a lot of great fundraising goes on to help support that. Where do you see this going from here now? Because it seems such a positive experience through a difficult time for these patients that it would be a shame then if it was discontinued or something didn't come from this. So where do you see it going from here, Dr. Richmond?
So I suppose myself and Mary Grace were permanent employees of the hospital for the foreseeable future. We're not going anywhere. We have continued with this. We're still in Scally Place on a Monday, looking for other venues, I suppose, throughout the week. We're also in the community hub on a Thursday. I do still have to take a few people back to the hospital on Wednesday to be seen in the hospital, my clinic there, because we don't have a community location at the minute available. But that said, it works quite well. It's only a small number of people. They're still coming into my clinical room. They're being seen quite quickly. All those things that matter to them, being seen by the same person, being seen on time, is still happening. So I suppose to answer your question, we're not going back to how it was. The model that we have developed is that people get their first 2 cycles of treatment in the hospital day ward, and that's done deliberately for a number of reasons. But it lets them get established on the treatment with a very supportive team around them, and also it gives a sense of the importance of these medications. Okay, they're tablets that you take at home, but they're very serious treatments. It's not just popping a couple of paracetamol. It's very different. So I think if you take them to the hospital or the oncology day unit, they have the support of the wider team, and there's very much a sense of, actually, this is a proper treatment for cancer. It's serious stuff here that I'm dealing with, and then they're referred out at cycle 2 to myself, and we take the care on from there.
And just for those listening, how are people selected? Do they opt in, or can they opt in? Are they selected for? There's people going to be listening that maybe are starting on this process and go, oh, I'd love that. How do I apply for it? And I don't imagine it's quite like that. So how's all that side of things working?
Well, just from a governance perspective, it's all guideline driven. It's referral form. So at cycle 2, when the patient attends the oncology day unit for their second cycle, it's a joint assessment by the doctor and the nurse, and if they consider them that they meet the criteria for this, which is really essentially anybody that's stable and doing well, they're then referred to me.
Okay.
Rory, the nurse manager, or Lorraine fills in a referral form along with the doctor, and they email that to me, and then we make contact with the patient.
So we're speaking off the back of the trial, but this is now in situ in perpetuity, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, and are you pleased with that?
Yeah, we are. I mean, as I say, to go back and mention Rory and Lorraine and the nurses in the day ward and the medical staff as well. We knew for a long time there was a better way to do this. It was just how, and to get the wiggle room really to put your head above water and actually take a step back and objectively look at that. And that's where the research grant gave us the opportunity to do that. It came with money, it came with my time, came with a team. That you can actually, step back, consider things, research the literature, see what's out there, develop good standards, good education, good guidelines, and then actually do this piece of work. Because it sounds so simple, and in many respects it is so simple, but it's simple if it works. If this is unsafe, if this is not acceptable, then that's that's a travesty.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And have you now had any interest from other parts of the country looking for, because you've laid an awful lot of the groundwork. If someone decides to do this in Sligo, for example, it's going to be much easier. There's going to be challenges, but you've got a pathway for them to do so. And I just mentioned Sligo off the top of my head. Yeah. Have you had much interest from across the country yet?
Yeah, we have. And I suppose this has all been published as well in scientific journals. There's 6 publications out there to date. So that's all there for the scientific community to look at. The model that we developed is there. And there's a group in Ireland, the National Cancer Control Programme, the NCCP. So they really direct and control cancer care in Ireland. So they were part of the funders of this, along with the Irish Cancer Society as well. And so they're very interested in that model. And you're right, it's sitting there, it can be done. We're now looking at, they would say this is the direction of travel.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's like this week we've talked about 2 or 3 different things that presumably eases the pressure on an acute hospital. One of them in and of themselves is not going to do it, but if we do multiple things, and hopefully we'll get there. Dr. Janice Richmond, it's been lovely having you on. Thank you for being so polite in your guidance of me early in the interview when I refused to see the word anti, because I'm so positive. I don't know why, but I do appreciate it. You could have hit me with a ruler really to begin with, but you didn't. Keep up the great work, you and the team, which you're very quick to mention, of course, and rightly so. And thanks so much, and keep up the great work. That's Dr. Janice Richmond, who's advanced nurse practitioner at Letterkenny University Hospital.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Inishowen Credit Union have recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndona, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Could it get any better as a senior citizen? No sitting in traffic trying to get to work. Heading off on midweek breaks. Out for a bite to eat whenever it suits. And now that bite to eat costs even less at Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny, with 15% off after 3 every weekday when you spend €15. Meet up for a chat and a bite to eat Monday to Friday with an extra 15% off the menu for all senior citizens at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Every year, about 2,600 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're aged 60 to 69, you can register today for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample for levels of blood. If you need any more tests, we'll let you know. Register today at hse.ie/bowel screen or free phone 1800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonahur Road, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, now the rain is cleared at this point, and we'll have decent sunny spells for the late morning, afternoon. Just a few showers might come into the region in the afternoon. Don't worry too much about those. Highest temperatures are 11 to 13 degrees. You are tuned to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We have a quick break to take before the news at 11 o'clock. Stay right where you are. We have a busy and interesting hour coming up for you in just a few moments.
Hop to Tesco for great food and value this Easter. Get Tesco finest sides like creamy mash and potato gratin 450 gram and more, now 2 for €6. Tesco finest award-winning Irish Angus Carvery rib roast was €21.99 per kilo, now half price. And Tesco Finest Irish Whole and Half Leg of Lamb was €15.99 per kilo. Now also half price with your Tesco Club card or app. You can't say finer than that. Tesco. Every little helps. Products subject to availability. T's and C's apply. Excludes Express stores.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney & Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney & Associates, Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Easter sale now on. Evolve Clothing Superstore. 2 floors of men's essential styles and fashions. In casual wear, streetwear, formal wear and suiting. Plus over 200 styles of footwear. Easter sale now on. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
This Easter Sunday, hop on over for a delicious lunch to the Radisson Blu Hotel in Letterkenny. Served from 12:30 to 3, why not treat the whole family with a 4-course meal for only $32.95 per adult and $15.95 per child. To book, call the Radisson Blu Hotel Letterkenny on 074 91 94444.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
We'll read them out in the next hour, but it is 11 o'clock. It's time for a news update, and it's good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The INMO is calling on the HSE to take specific steps ahead of the bank holiday weekend to avoid emergency department overcrowding. It comes as 582 admitted patients were without beds in Irish hospitals this morning, 48 of them at Letterkenny University Hospital. Of those, 14 were on emergency department trolleys. Police in Derry say the fire service is dealing with a fire at a derelict building in Grantia Park this morning. Residents are urged to be aware of subsequent dust and smoke and to keep doors and windows closed for the moment. It's understood post-Brexit checks on goods coming into the UK from the European Union are to be streamlined. They're legally required under the trade deal with Brussels. It's thought the new regime model will be announced later today. The British government has delayed putting a new system in place on 4 occasions now. Donegal County Council is to seek an urgent meeting with the Transport Minister to press for a specific road funding grant to make Windy Hall Road in Letterkenny safe for all road users. On Thursday of last week, a number of members and engineers visited the area at 8:30 in the morning. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says what they saw reinforced his belief that it's one of the most dangerous roads in the county. The Women of Honour group says a new Garda operation to investigate sexual assault in the Defence Force is generally positive, but questions remain over how past complaints were dealt with. They say they were unaware until this morning that the national operation has been set up. The Garda Commissioner says he's committed to pursuing predators within the Defence Forces. And the government's bid to clamp down on short-term lets on Airbnb has hit a stumbling block. It's understood the EU believes the proposals are too restrictive and would make it too hard for holiday sites to do business in Ireland. And we're back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much indeed, Donald. That's an interesting story which we'll follow with interest, of course. Back with more after a very short break.
Like cracking Easter offers from Aldi. Cadbury Dairy Milk Chunky Egg 400 gram, only $9.99. Plus Super 6 fresh Irish meat and fish offers, like smoked Coley fillets save 13%, only $2.59. And milk chocolate filled mini eggs for 79 cents, which saves even more of your Easter bunny money. Nah, I don't like it like that. I love it. Aldi, everyday amazing. Chunky egg offer limited to 2 per customer while stocks last.
Okay, coming up in this hour, we have Brendan Tiny Vaughan a little later on. You would know he's doing a big fundraiser, a big raffle for a lovely tractor, which is actually parked outside the building here at Highland Radio. So we'll have a look at that when we are interviewing Tiny to see what it's all about. It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing like the old tractors, I think. Beautiful. And also Brendan, no. Kieran will be in with business news and previewing the Business Matters podcast, which is going live for you very shortly now on our website. That and so much more besides. Right, okay, but before we get to some of your comments, I want to welcome onto the programme now Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace, who's the National Executive Member for Connacht Ulster of the Association of Garda and Inspectors. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us, Paul, as always. No, that's line's not there again either, Caroline. That's a couple of times that line has failed as we were going to it. A caller says, I suffered huge side effects of chemo and still do years later, and it was all done. And all was done was take notes and be a statistic. I got nothing from it. Okay, I understand. Chemo is it's invasive. It's an amazing treatment, but it has to. It's a strong medicine, and I'm sorry that you suffered and continue to do so. Another caller says, surely nutrition is the way to deal with all ailments, particularly preventatively, but also as treatment as opposed to drugs and more drugs. Well, I mean, if everyone has the choice whether or not to go down the path of traditional treatments, it's certainly a gamble I'd not be prepared to take. But listen, there is no argument that a good lifestyle and with all of your key indicators topped up, you know, in terms of not having any deficiencies, always is going to be a benefit. Most cleaned up Britain since I was over. It was filthy, rotten and dirty, says a listener. Britain is huge. We were talking about London, and particularly the part of London I was in was the touristy part. And my honest assessment of it is that it was incredibly clean. So that's why it was notable, you see. Right, Paul Wallace, Sergeant Paul Wallace. Good morning to you, Paul. Thanks very much for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
What's the mood? What was or is the mood at the AGSI conference amongst members?
Well, the mood was good. The Commissioner addressed us for the first time since before COVID yesterday evening, and we had Simon Harris, the Minister for Justice, on Monday evening. So, you know, we were trying to speak to him about this impasse that we have at the minute in relation to rosters and that, and he's not returning, so we're kind of left in a bit of a difficulty now.
Can you give us the crux of that dispute over rosters, Paul, from your perspective?
Yeah, well, traditionally we worked a six day on, 4 days off, and then kind of overnight, then with the COVID pandemic, we changed to a 4 on, 4 off roster, 12-hour day, which we are still on. He's extended it a number of times, and we're looking to go back to the 6 on, 4 off, and he said it doesn't meet what he calls his business need. And that's accepted, but we feel that there could be a bit of tweaking. And he's proposing a 7 day on, 2 day off, 7 day on, 2 day off, 6 day on, 4 day off roster. And it's very unfamily friendly. It means that people will have to work 70 odd days, I think 71 extra days in the year. But the crux of it is really that it's very, that the work-life balance is out the window with it. And then particularly if you have a couple who are both members of the Guards, you know, it becomes very difficult with.
But it's an interesting proposal too, as we're seeing effectively a mass exodus from the Gardai. We are seeing difficulties in recruitment, and we're seeing morale at an all-time low. This just seems to be the worst plan from the Commissioner at the worst time.
Well, yeah, it does. And, you know, the question President Paul Kern asked yesterday for a show of what we call red cards in relation to people think that morale was low, and it was unanimous. It was almost 100. Well, it was 100%. And he's still of the view that due to cultural audit studies and different things and what his managers are telling him, that morale is fine. And why are people leaving? It was fine. Certainly there's a cultural thing amongst young people who probably joined in Garda Síochána. When I went in, you went in and that was it. If you came out of the Guards, they were basically saying, well, what did he do wrong or she do wrong? Now, it's a kind of... young people are different. I suppose if it's not hitting the spots for them, they're more educated, they're more experienced in travel and all that, and you have a move. And that's not just in the Guards. You see it in nursing, teaching and everywhere else, and it's right across. They have the same problems with retention in the UK and Scotland as we have. But certainly this roster system that he's proposing, and then the whole thing of uncertainty. He's extended what we call the COVID or pandemic roster out now to September. But after September, people have no idea of what way they're working or what's happening. And that's a time of year when people are going to college and all of that sort of thing, heading into the winter. So if you have childcare responsibilities or elder care responsibilities or things like that, that's very difficult. And we just can't understand that he just won't sit down and talk to us, because he's intent on going to the Workplace Relations Commission, but they're not going to be the panacea for everything there either. While we could still talk, and we have a dispute resolution, and what they call the Blue Book, and there's 3 steps in it, and he wants to go on to step 3 without exhausting step 2, which is negotiation, sitting down and being reasonable about the thing, and everybody given a bit to get a mutually agreeable outcome.
And I should have asked this at the beginning because I don't know the answer. Is this across all ranks, or do these rosters particularly affect sergeants and inspectors?
Guard sergeants and inspectors, yes.
All ranks, okay. And the 6 on 4 off, are they 8-hour days?
They were 8-hour days, yeah.
Okay, so it's a big change of you effectively going to continental shifts, really effectively. Now, I'm not saying there's a mixture of daytime and overnight, but that's really the route you're going down, and that's really is not for everyone.
Yeah, and you see, in terms of welfare and health and safety, we would have health and safety concerns because people are tired. Like, they've been working this 12-hour day for the last, since the pandemic. And, surveys would say that the force is a tired force. So, we just can't understand why he just wouldn't come in or do some level of a trial or have some level of discussion and everybody give it that. And that's what's supposed to be true spirit of negotiation.
Is there any sense that the fact that really in a traditional sense Gardai can't strike, that is being used against members? In other words, that it's being exploited.
Well, possibly. The Guards or the Defence Forces haven't got the right to strike like every other section of the community. But yesterday there was a number of mandates. The General Secretary, Antoinette Cunningham, asked for a number of mandates from conference about what we do. We did have a day of action, which was very well attended, because AGSI have only 2,200 members, and we had about 250 people who walked to headquarters to hand in a letter asking Drew Harris, the Commissioner, to consider going back into negotiations with us. And
all right, the line's dropped for us. It should come back. Can you hear me okay, Paul? Sorry, the line dropped there.
Something came in there.
Yeah, that's no problem. So talk to me then about these. You have agreed not to disrupt the visit of Joe Biden if that goes ahead, but I believe that you sort of said, when I say you, I mean the association said that such a commitment can't be made, across the board in terms of policing state visits and what have you.
Yeah, well, you see, there is disquiet around that, and that the Commissioner refused to go into any level of negotiation, and then the announcement of the President of the United States coming to Ireland and all that. So he's got a letter saying that it will be policed but under protest, which is basically saying don't take this as read, that you're going to get this policing response going into the future with VIPs. Look, the public don't like to see guards probably not happy or disquiet or particularly not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It makes people nervous and makes older people nervous and all of that, and we can understand that. Then the reputation of the country from an economic point of view is important, and the visit of the President of the United States is a big event that should be celebrated. But we have basically put him on notice that we're policing this now under protest as such.
Now there are 4 days of action being mooted to highlight health, safety and welfare concerns around the roster issue. What form do they take? When are they likely to happen?
Well, I can't for confidential reasons say what form they will take, but there will be 4 different days across basically the summer months of May, June, July. and possibly into August, where there'll be various different considerations of what we will do, whether it's to go have a march and walk to government buildings, the Department of Justice, it's things like that. But there was a clear mandate from conference to do this, to note our disquiet, for want of a better word.
Right, okay. But he seems very dogged in his determination.
Yeah, he does.
Are you as equally motivated?
Well, he thinks that there's no need for it. We would rather not be doing it. There's no winners in disputes, really, and really disputes are all about negotiation and everybody giving a little bit. And we would be seen as a reasonable representative body. We're not hardline. We're middle of the road always, and we would try and meet with mutual agreement. But he at the moment anyway, he's not for turning. Now,
the Garda Commissioner did withdraw gender pronoun, his plans about the usage of them, and if you misgendered someone, the potential to face disciplinary action. Has that been welcomed? Was that a big deal at the conference?
Yeah, it was a big deal, at the start of the conference as such, because we really became aware of this through the press. There was no discussion, no negotiation about it. And all this whole gender identity, it's a whole new area for people, for society as such. And it's something that you have to handle very carefully and very sensitively. And it's very personal to the people that are going through this change as such. And, we were told that people could be disciplined if they address somebody by the wrong gender or by the wrong form of words, for want of a better thing. I don't know that much about it, to be honest, but we were told, and this took everybody back, because here we were being threatened with discipline, and there was no educational piece around this where people would be made aware of what's involved and what are the do's and what are the don'ts and what are the red light issues. So I think that part wasn't very well thought out by the people in Garda headquarters either. So then we were informed yesterday morning that they were withdrawn this directive. Mm-hmm. But this was a directive that was issued without any consultation, any discussion, anything at all. And really, nobody had a clue about it. And maybe the people that issued it hadn't a clue either. But, you're talking about those sort of subjects. They have to be done because it's personal, and it's personal to the people involved. And you have to be sensitive and respectful and all of that. So there's no point in saying, we're open to diversity and we're open to being respectful and being mindful and all that. And then taking out a directive and threatening people with discipline. That doesn't work like that. You're not going to bring anybody with you when you're doing business in that fashion. So yeah, we were glad that was it didn't have to become an issue for conference then, because it was withdrawn yesterday morning. But maybe it was timely. Maybe we were just lucky that we were in the position to raise the problem or raise the issue and seek a resolution. Yeah.
Okay, listen, Paul, thanks for the insight. I do appreciate it, and we'll see how this unfolds. Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace, he's the National Executive Member for Connacht Ulster at the Association of Gardai and Inspectors.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Have I got time? Let me see, have I got time? Yes, it's the final call to win the holiday of a lifetime. It's your last chance to be able to buy a ticket for tomorrow's mega holiday draw. Log on to highlandradio.com and click on Win a Holiday. Simple as that. Greg Hughes will pick the lucky winner who receives a €10,000 holiday worth €5,000 spending money as well. How good is that? Buy your ticket at highlandradio.com or call 9125,000. Lines close 11 a.m. tomorrow.
We should all be grateful to Vespula vulgaris, the common Irish wasp. Because Vespula vulgaris is equipped with an early warning system, only audible when you're in harm's way. Just like front assist, driver alert and lane assist. Early warning systems equipped as standard on Volkswagen's T-Cross, T-Roc and Taigo SUVs, which only kick in when you need them. Search Volkswagen SUV.
Volkswagen.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €3.5 million. Play
responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie.
The National Lottery. It could be you.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time is 18 minutes past 11. Now, as part of Wellness Wednesday, we talk about being diagnosed with and living with osteoporosis. Michelle O'Brien, CEO of the Irish Osteoporosis Society, and joins us now. Good morning, Michelle. Right, okay, I'm not getting Michelle there just at the moment, so what we'll do is we'll re-invite Michelle into our conversation, and I'm going to invite you now to text and WhatsApp 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call 07491 25,000 as we wait for Michelle to rejoin us. I shall catch up on some of your comments that are coming in. Right, do people know that electricity companies can turn your electricity off if you have a smart meter? No way would I let them put one in my house. Well, I know for a fact that they can switch it off without them as well. But they can't do so just at the moment if you engage with them, but they have that on-off ability, that listener says. Storage heater bill for 70 days, €625 was estimated, but I sent my own reading since. It's going to be higher. That's for a 2-bed apartment. Heaters are 15 years old. I'm using portable fires from now onwards. A lot of those things that run off electricity to heat, and I noticed actually in a box, I saw one boxed, and it said on it, not suitable for drafty areas or in very, very cold conditions because they're so expensive. They're not effective. All right, okay, let's welcome Michelle O'Brien now, CEO of the Irish Osteoporosis Society, onto the show. Michelle, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having us on.
Right, can you describe to us what osteoporosis is and who it most commonly affects, if there is a particular group of individuals?
Yes, osteoporosis is a disease that affects the inside of people's bones in that they become very fragile. But on the outside, a person could look perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden they start to break bones. It's commonly thought of just affecting older women, and women over 65 are the highest risk group. However, it affects males, females, and are young.
Yes, so let's not presume that if you aren't an older lady that you will not get osteoporosis. Is the first time that people realise they have it after a break, or are there any indications prior to that happening?
Unfortunately, as awful as this sounds, because we're not a third world country and this is an issue worldwide, only the diagnosis rate is only 19%. Wow. So the big red flag is that there are no signs and symptoms. There are no warning signs at all. So anybody who breaks a bone from a trip or fall or less should be screened to see, do they have osteoporosis? Because if your bones were healthy, they shouldn't break from a simple trip and fall.
Well, in relation to that then, we estimate 25% of men and 50% of women over 50 have osteoporosis. Are we diagnosing them even after a break, though, if you know what I mean? So, in other words, if someone does happen to have a fall, is there any sort of routine screening or red flags that might trigger an assessment as to whether or not they have osteoporosis? Or is it normally if there are subsequent breakage or a breakage is particularly severe?
I think you may be quite shocked, and I'm assuming you're sitting down for this, but unfortunately, I've run the National Osteoporosis Helpline for 23 years, and we would have weekly calls. People could have broken 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bones, and it was never mentioned.
Wow. Okay.
So this is why people have to be proactive. The only fractures that are registered are hip fractures, which you really can't miss because a person can't walk. There is a hip fracture database.
But let me ask, Michelle, if you don't mind, if someone has a fall and in the process of being triaged or what have you, they might describe the circumstances of that fall. They weren't in a car crash or fell off a roof, okay? It's probably a trip or stumble. Why would a professional at that point not say, right, well, this is very likely? Because I'm sure in their mind they're thinking this is possibly osteoporosis. So what is happening that stops that's being brought up or progressed? Do you know what I mean? Is it cultural? Are they directed in that regard? Because there's a serious gap there.
I think it's lack of knowledge. In fairness, a lot of GPs, every single person coming in has something different wrong with them. A lot of them got very minimal, very, very minimal information in their training, even regarding osteoporosis. Most health professionals, and especially because of COVID, they are so overworked. And this is why that the Irish people themselves have to be proactive to say, look, I tripped and fell. This doesn't seem odd, to red flag it. You know, it's not just in Ireland, it's a worldwide issue that the governments have not, unfortunately, not invested a lot in this area. And as I mentioned, it's not just Ireland, it's worldwide. The diagnosis rate is appalling. I mean, for men, more men die from osteoporosis than actually get prostate cancer.
That's another sit-down job, to be honest with you, Michelle. Right, okay, that's a startling statistic. Right, so thankfully we are living longer and primarily, hopefully healthier lives. So we are going to see more of this, given the demographics that it most routinely is seen in, though not exclusively, as you're very quick to point out. But not necessarily, because this is preventable.
Exactly, and in reality, it should start in childhood. I'm not sure about Donegal, but down here they've spent millions putting in bicycle lanes, which sounds wonderful, and it's great for those who are actually active and families that are, but it doesn't hit the demographic. The issue is that all children should be participating in physical activity, and we believe and have been saying for decades that physical education should be made mandatory in schools. The government need to promote this, and they need to back it financially, because not only does the prevention of osteoporosis regarding physical activity, but it will help prevent obesity, heart disease, strokes. It helps with decreasing depression, mental health issues. At the end of the day, to us, common sense in how to prevent osteoporosis also helps to prevent a whole load of other conditions, and its physical education should be made mandatory in all schools. It should be part of the Leaving Cert, not just an option on the Leaving Cert, because those who pick that option are those who are into sport.
And
weight-bearing exercise.
The amount of money it would save the state in the long run too. And there are a million examples of this. It does not make sense. Why would you not mandate something that you know, not only in this area, but so many other areas? Let's even throw mental health in there, not just physical health. Why would you not do something that you don't even have to do research as to the benefits of it? It's obvious on so many levels, and it would save the state. It would save people into their older age in many cases. Why not? It does make me scratch my head and wonder sometimes, Michelle, and I don't want to go down any rabbit holes, don't get me wrong, but why aren't we? It's a non-brainer. No-brainer.
If I had a magic wand to figure out why our governments, time after time after time, we've met with health ministers, etc., and nothing has been done. And it's shocking, because long-term, it would save the HSE an absolute fortune. The quality of lives would go up. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Would we have overcrowding? Possibly not. We possibly might not have overcrowding on the level we had if we took this action 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Oh, even if it was done now, because at the end of the day, if 81% of people have undiagnosed osteoporosis, therefore if they do fracture, they end up in the hospital, and especially if they're senior citizens, because they are the highest risk group. Those who have it and it's untreated, the bones will either not heal or it takes forever to heal. These are a very high percentage, in our opinion, of those blocking the beds because they can't go home.
Yeah. Now, let me ask, you mentioned in terms of prevention, starting right from the very beginning, but for many people listening in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, it's too late to go back to their childhood and to be as active as they might want to be. So in adulthood, what can we do to either prevent or mitigate against the onset of osteoporosis?
One, the first thing people need to do is check. They can go on our website. They need to check to see, do they have any risk factors for bone loss? Because with COVID, it caused havoc, because COVID affected most people and it caused high stress levels. High stress levels is one of the 200 because you want to do weight-bearing exercise to help build up bone strength, but you don't want to just start exercising if you haven't been screened to see are you actually at risk of fractures. And this is why it's very important. The word fracture means broken bone, and I'm emphasizing this because you'd be quite shocked the amount of people that if I ask on the helpline, have you broken any bones, they'll say, oh no, but I've had a fracture.
Yes,
just even the basics of osteoporosis is not known. So one, checking, do you have a risk factor? Two, if you do have a risk factor, you need to approach your doctor regarding getting a DEXA scan, which is the only test we recommend for screening or diagnosing. And then the next step is seeing a chartered physiotherapist who deals in bone health to be put on a safe and appropriate exercise program. They also need calcium and vitamin D and first-class proteins, which, for example, fortified milk has all three in it.
And also, too, let's insert some hope, which you've already done so there, in that your group would work with people in their 90s whose bone health has improved with treatment. So there is treatment for people out there. A caller wants to know what you think of a bit of a fad, or what we do see now is children, for one reason or another, on dairy-free diets. They see a lot of, I know this word, but I can't pronounce it at the time, kinesology patients are told to avoid dairy. They say they work in healthcare and they've come across this so often. So you talked about exercise. What do you think about the growing number of younger people who have dairy-free diets? Would you be concerned as to what the impact that might have on them in later life?
We would be very concerned, and we would be totally oppose it. It's similar to those who are raising their children as vegans. In Belgium now, any child raised as a vegan is actually being monitored by the government. It's not healthy. Dairy products are one of the best ways of people getting calcium, vitamin D, first-class proteins, because they're more easily absorbed. It's just very sad because there's a whole load of people making a whole load of money, they're influencers, etc., that don't have the background to actually be giving advice to the public. And that's what's quite scary. So absolutely not. We would definitely say that dairy products, unless someone is actually lactose intolerant, which the percentage is minute for those who actually are allergic to dairy. So no, it is essential that children are, and they should be taking the full fat milk. Adults, it's different. Low fat milk is fine for adults, but children should be taking the full fat milk, preferably the fortified milks.
Yeah. All right, that's actually interesting. And I think people should trust their health to the right people as well, and that maybe catches an awful lot of what you're talking about there. Signs and symptoms: upper, middle, or lower back pain, intermittent or constant back pain, loss of height. You're getting shorter. Now, sometimes we have these sort of social norms where people presume you get shorter because you get older, and it's almost a joke. You know what I mean? I'm not as tall as I used to be, and all that type of stuff. Maybe that's something we should pay a little bit more attention to, because it is a potential red flag for osteoporosis if you do actually lose height.
Oh, definitely. And see, what you've just listed, they're the signs of possible undiagnosed osteoporosis.
So you may well have it. Yep.
Exactly. A huge red flag, which tends to happen, and we'll get called on it, is that someone will say, oh, my grandson said I was getting shorter, and I just thought he was getting taller. And this is the reason why we're coming to Donegal. We haven't been up in the area in about 10 years.
Yeah.
And we were getting more and more calls from people from that area. So this is why people assume that it's normal aging. As if your posture slightly changes, etc.
Your head moves forward, it's a slight hump in your back. Okay, I get you.
Exactly.
And we have to, I think in this day and age, and we're getting better at it, of course, we have to make sure we empower ourselves with information, don't we? And that if and we were talking yesterday on the show about instinct and hunches, if you feel that, if you feel there's something up or there is something, and even if you're reassured, don't let it go. I think people need to trust their instincts a bit more and be a bit pushy, because our health is everything to us, isn't it, Michelle?
Oh, definitely. And this is why, the statistics are quite shocking. 20% of Irish people age 60 plus who break their hip will die within 6 to 12 months. 50% will lose their independence. And this is why we need people to attend the function that we're holding. People need to be armed. One of the main goals of the Irish Osteoporosis Society is to keep people independent in their own homes. Okay. And as you mentioned earlier, we have 90-year-olds who've gone from wheelchair bound to independent.
Can I ask just before, because I'm going to give the actual event a good push towards the end so it's fresh in people's minds. So if they want to grab a pen and paper, now's the time to do so, though they can always ring us. Why is there such a high mortality rate in people after a hip fracture or break?
Because most people don't realise how dangerous breaking a bone is. Oh, it's a broken bone, it's nothing. But what can develop is a blood clot, pneumonia or infection. And they're the secondary effects. So on their death cert, it says a blood clot, pneumonia, infection. It doesn't say due to undiagnosed or untreated osteoporosis.
And, why would it, with such a low level of diagnoses as well? It's a perfect storm, really, for us not to be getting ahead of this. Okay, so the seminar takes place Friday week. So it's not tomorrow, Good Friday. It's the Friday afterwards. It's in the Station House Hotel, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny. And the itinerary kicks off at 6. There's registration. Then there are speakers up until 7. Then there's going to be a break for tea and coffee. Then our guest now, Michelle O'Brien, will be talking, and then it's going to conclude with a good amount of time, actually, which I think is great, over an hour for a Q&A session as well. So it is €15 to enter. It's a donation at the door, and all donations are to the Irish Osteoporosis Society charity services. It's free entry for Irish Osteoporosis Society members, and there'll be a raffle on the night. So who is the call out for to attend then? Obviously you will be preaching to the converted, because people who know they have osteoporosis, I'm sure, will wish to attend. Outside of that, GPs, I don't know, healthcare professionals, the general public, who are you inviting, Michelle?
Well, all of the above. All of the above, because the bottom line is there's 200 causes. So, for example, anyone who has chemotherapy, they've had radiation, they're on Arimidex for breast cancer, anyone who's on a medication, and they can check with their pharmacist, a significant amount of medications actually cause bone loss. So this is why it's any of your listeners, all age groups are welcome. We have 19-year-olds with severe bone loss. As I mentioned, the over 65s are the highest risk group, but the younger generation need to learn. They need to take care of their bone health, because they're given so much rubbish on the internet. They're not getting correct, accurate information.
All right, but it is, as I say, to a great extent, it is preventable. On diagnosis, it is treatable, so there's plenty of hope there. Knowledge is power. That's what we're trying to do here. And I'll give this another mention next week, Michelle, just closer to the date, for those who wish to attend. Now, registration is essential, by the way. You can donate €15 on the website irishosteoporosis.ie. And leave a comment in the section, type Donegal Talk, and that will secure your place. Any information required, email events@irishosteoporosis.ie. We have a telephone number here as well. There's no point reading it out now because it'll just go over people's heads, but they can call us and we'll pass that on to them. Thanks for your time this morning. Very interesting conversation.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Have a lovely day. Okay, right. We'll be back with business news, and Tiny Vaughan's going to be popping in as well. That's all before 12.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
CarsIreland.ie presents When Car Buying Becomes Catfishing.
What do you think? Well, it's a lot of leopard print. Cheetah, actually.
Cars Ireland isn't just fast and easy. We only work with trusted dealerships, so you can find the right car without the unwanted surprises. CarsIreland.ie. Click, click, vroom, vroom.
Hey, got some old household electrical appliances or batteries lying around? Recycle them for free with We Ireland in partnership with Donegal County Council at a special collection event this Thursday, 6th of April in Donegal at Carrickar Church Car Park, Umla, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll accept anything household with a plug or battery. Recycle for free. See weaireland.ie for more details.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. All the kids are back playing football with longer days and shorter nights. Kids football boots from only €25, available in Velcro or lace. Check our new range of kids boots, shorts, socks and accessories. Visit our new club room with quarter zips, t-shirts and matching bottoms for your favourite local club. Click on Teamwear at bmcsports.ie for more details.
House to Home Bridgend, Donegal. Our modest front door opens onto 2 floors of Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining and occasional furniture. Step into our showroom and see how we can transform your house into a home. House to Home furniture, flooring, slide robes and interiors, Bridgend, Donegal.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. Are you a senior manager in the private sector looking to reinforce your leadership skills? ATU are offering a Level 9 Executive MBS in Leadership and Innovation based around action learning starting late April. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 today or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
All right, that means that Kieran O'Donnell's in studio with us. We're previewing the Business Matters podcast live for you now on our website. We'll tell you more about that in a moment, but let's get to, firstly, welcoming Kieran onto the programme. Where are my manners, Kieran O'Donnell? Good morning to you.
Good
You're very
morning,
welcome
Greg,
to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio, Ireland's #1 local radio station.
Great to be here.
Right, grants for Donegal projects. Tell us about this.
Yeah, 3 Donegal projects have been allocated grants under this year's Historic Structures Fund. The Clock Tower on Ballyshannon Main Street will get €50,000. Kavanagh House in Ballinrate will receive €26,000, while €32,000 has been earmarked for Clonlee Parish Church in Lifford. So a total of 95 projects across
Hold on a second.
the country.
Now, the microphone. Like, you've been in radio for an awful long time in one form or other. Would you rotate the microphone round so the B1 is pointing to your face? Rotate the red bit, just that. No, yeah, that'll do. You rotate that round. Again, keep going to the B1. There it is. Now, look at that.
Yeah, you should have all started great for
I did. You
No, you didn't.
Kieran,
No.
You
Go away.
Hold on a second. You sat down and you moved it. Right, okay.
No, I just no. I did, but I moved it just down to myself. I didn't turn it around.
Back to the more serious.
We'll get the CCTV. We'll get this sorted after this.
We'll settle it with a duel. Back to the more serious business. Sorry, you were telling us of the 3 Donegal projects.
Yeah, 3 Donegal projects, Greg, have been allocated grants under this year's Historic Structures Fund. The Clock Tower on Ballyshannon Main Street will get €50,000. Kavanagh House in Ballinrate will receive €26,000, while €32,000 has been earmarked for Clonlee Parish Church in Lifford. And a total of 95 projects across the country were successful in their application for funding.
All right, if that's the same clock tower that I believe it is, actually probably it's not. I know the one it is. That clock tower was done not so long ago, about within the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think I've a notion that some of these grants are sort of add-ons and as work that's sort of ongoing, Greg, in some of those projects.
I remember driving through it in the clock tower there down by Slevens, isn't it?
Yep.
That was all done up. So good to see extra money going on, to see the maintenance going on, and good to see money going in for Donegal Airport. It continues to really do well. Obviously, numbers have really bounced back quickly. That new flight into Scotland, hopefully with maybe slightly better times, but still it's really, really good for an awful lot of people. And also quite a significant little funding package as well.
Yeah, indeed. Funding of almost €586,000 has been announced for Donegal Airport by the Minister of State at the Department of Transport, Jack Chambers. The announcement follows funding to support the installation of Cat 3 security screening technologies at Carrickfinn, and as you say, it's the latest and a number of allocations in recent years for the airport, and as you say, it's probably getting back up to pre-COVID numbers as well.
Yeah, I think that's the screening that means you don't have to worry quite as much as liquids and all. But anyway, listen, I don't want to distract, but I believe that's the case. I'll get clarification on that to save misleading anyone. Right, the Kay McNulty Memorial unveiled. This an amazing woman from beautiful Creasy. On Wikipedia, she's described as an Irish-born American. I might go on and edit that.
Yes, do indeed.
Go on.
To-do list after lunch. A new memorial has been unveiled in Creasy to honour one of its most famous natives, Kay McNulty. Kay died in 2006 in Pennsylvania, aged 85, and was one of the world's first computer programmers. And on Monday evening, the Creasy community unveiled a bespoke monument in the corner of the garden to tell locals and visitors about Kay's pioneering work. And we actually discussed Kay's life and times with Eamon McFadden this time last year on the programme, Greg. So it's nice to see a permanent memorial to honour a great woman.
Yes, and I mean, I'm not sometimes behind the door and criticising RTE on this programme from a Dublin-based level, but it was fair play to Eileen and her crew for being there and doing great coverage of that as well. Car sales on the up and up and up.
Yeah, there were 32 more new cars sold in Donegal during the first quarter of 2023 compared to the same period last year. According to the latest figures released by the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, 1,249 new cars were bought in the first 3 months of this year. That's an increase of 3.5% compared to the first quarter of 2022. Now, nationally, Greg, new electric car registrations were up 49% in the first quarter of this year. 130 electric cars more have been sold in Donegal so far in 2023. 50 more have been sold compared to the figures from last year, and that's 133 for this year. I know you went through the figures in a good bit of detail yesterday when you went through the paper review. So electric cars, 50 more compared to this time last year. That's a big jump.
It is, but nationally compared to petrol and diesel, still well behind. And I think that recent announcement that the EU is struggling to get the 2035 internal combustion engine across the line. There's different reports now as to whether or not they did that or not. I think people maybe are trusting the petrol or diesel for right or wrong with a little bit more certainty, you know. So I say pure electric really is the figure I look at of my own views on hybrid.
Same as that.
I think a lot of people drive a hybrid and they make themselves feel better, but they're towing around batteries on a 1 litre engine. But anyway, listen, we can have that debate another time.
And those 1 litre engines are actually very, very powerful. I know a few people have purchased and raced them.
Oh no, listen, don't. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I know, but it's
a very confused market there, isn't
it? But that's why I only look at the pure electric EV figures as to see really the direction of traffic, because I think a lot of people go for the hybrids because it makes them feel like they're making a contribution, and perhaps they are. But
you wonder to what extent, though.
Yeah, well, that's indeed it. Right, okay, now we're getting older. I was like, my house is a modest bungalow, but I was able at that time to build it, to borrow for it, really effectively. It's not something a young person could do now, and that's proven by these figures. Typical buyer now, is this first time buyer?
I'm not sure if it's first time buyer.
Typical home buyer. I suppose it's a catch-all, but still, I think we can presume a lot of them are first timers.
Yeah, as you say, the age of the typical home buyer, Greg, is continuing to rise. According to figures from the Central Statistics Office, profiling those taking out a mortgage in 2021, a typical buyer was aged 35, and that's up from the age of was aged 39. That's up from the age of 35 in 2010. And people buying with a mortgage had a typical income of €79,200 in 2021. Okay. And I think if anything stood out, that was the figure that stood out. I mean,
and for people are they working?
We're talking about
are they high?
Yeah, for people looking to buy a house.
Giving out for saying stuff like that. But anyway, Kieran, you know, policy has a huge impact on people's lives, and you know, obviously some of this is going to be choice. But we live in a country now whereby people are buying homes and starting families in their late 30s now. You know, the majority of women having their first child, I think 34, the last set of figures I looked at. Now, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they're having fun in their 20s. I don't know. You can have fun with children, by the way, but you know what I mean. But it's amazing that policy decisions and the social environment we have now, people in their mid to late 30s buying homes and starting families, often for the first time.
Well, I suppose I look at my own 3 children. They're adult children now. I do wonder, they're not in any panic to buy a house or get to get a mortgage, but you do look at and from their perspective and go, when will that right time come, and when will they be able to afford that, and will it be affordable, or are we going to go on a European note and say, look, we need to get away altogether from the purpose of home ownership?
Yes, but that has to come with so many other things, i.e. More housing for older people in different environments, a completely different rental market. Yes, we can follow the continental Europe example in terms of home ownership, but there's so much else that has to go with that at the same time.
Well, there's 2 things, Greg. It's affordability and availability.
Yeah, all right. Build more houses. All right, this week's podcast.
Yeah, my guests this week, Greg, are Mary Meehan, owner of Verve Boutique and V2, which are both located in Donegal town, and her daughter Aisling, who has been working full-time in the business for the last 3 years. Fairs Boutique was established in 1999, and last year it was named Irish Retailer of the Year by the Small Firms Association. Mary currently employs a team of 15 and is planning to set up her own warehouse for the online side of the business. In this clip, Mary explains why she decided to set up her own business 24 years ago.
I am 24 years here in business in Donegal town. I was off on my maternity and I decided I wanted a change. So I was working for a shop in Ardra for 18 years with Alan and Sylvia, very, very good bosses. But I decided when I was off, I just wanted to do something different. So a very good friend of mine down through the years, a great family friend, was Joe. Now deceased. He was a fabulous man and I admire him and I think of him, he was just a great businessman. So Joe had said to me, and he pushed me along, and even a few years before that he had been pushing me along to do this. So then he came up and he said to me when I was off that he had a premises. So I opened in May 1999. So I never looked back from that.
All right, more to that fascinating story from Mary on the podcast. Your second guest, Kieran.
Yeah, her daughter Ashling. In this clip, Greg talks about the biggest change that she has noticed in business in recent years.
The change, I would say, that's most evident is probably just how big the online has actually got. You know, like we are in business now. Mum started off 25 years. We're 25 years next year. But like, you know, it's only recently, this past 3 years, where the online has been so big, you know. I do think in years to come as well, like I know it's lovely going into a shop, but I do think the online is getting just even bigger and bigger every year, you know. So I do think that's probably one of the big changes that I've seen, you know, in the last couple of years.
Sorry, I've just lost my breath there for a second. Something else we were talking about off air.
Moving right along.
I'll listen to Aisling and Mary in full on the podcast. The full interviews are available to download now at highlandradio.com. We'll stream there or wherever you get your podcast, providing it's either iTunes or Spotify. And Business Matters is on air, Kieran.
Yeah, usual time, Greg, after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday evening.
And if people want to get in touch with you,
yeah, just simply drop me an email, please. businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
And I highly recommend it. And because I do genuinely highly recommend it. There's a huge back catalogue of timeless, ageless podcasts there for anyone involved anyone involved in business or with an interest in business, or anyone who's simply interested in people's stories, because that's the kind of information Kieran gets out there. Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of Business Matters. Have a good morning, have a good day, and we'll see you next Wednesday. I won't see you next Wednesday.
I'll leave this microphone the proper way now for the next guest.
Tiny Bohan's going to come in and probably knock it all over the place like a wrecking ball. Come here. I won't be here next Wednesday because I'm taking the 4 days of next week off.
Enjoy your break.
So you and Donald are going to have to do it.
Not a bother.
All right.
Take care, Greg. Thanks.
Bye.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Attention farmers and professional users of pesticides. Donegal County Council would like to remind farmers, gardeners and contractors of the need to follow best practice when using pesticide products such as MCPA for spraying rushes, particularly near lakes and rivers used as drinking water sources. Firstly, don't spray if it's windy or rain is forecast in the next 48 hours. Read the product label carefully, avoid spills, stay well back from open drains, and rinse empty containers 3 times into the sprayer before recycling them. Clean water is everybody's business.
Strictly Ballroom the Musical, the award-winning sensation from Baz Luhrmann, is waltzing to the Millennium Forum in a brand new Better Than Ever production from Monday 22nd to Saturday 27th of May. Directed and co-choreographed by Craig Revel Howard and starring Strictly Come Dancing legend Kevin Clifton and Coronation Street's Faye Brooks. Book now at millenniumforum.co.uk.
There's a big freeze on the way, and it's good news for anyone thinking about changing their home energy, because Calar are putting their prices on ice with a 2-year price freeze when you switch to Calar LPG. A cleaner alternative to oil, Calar Gas is ideal for cooking, hot water and heating your home. So, switch today at calargas.ie. And very soon, the only thing feeling the chill will be your bill. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, we're talking about the weather here now. If I can get a word in edgeways with Brendan. Any lingering rain and drizzle clearing eastwards early afternoon with sunny spells and isolated showers following from the west. Highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees in light or moderate westerly winds. You're very welcome to Donegal, Brendan.
Thank you very much,
You're
Greg.
welcome back.
And thanks to Highland for having me on.
No, it's no problem whatsoever. We're talking to you about an update on the tractor raffle. It's a beautiful Massey Ferguson 135, which is sitting outside Highland. We're going to take some pictures of it for our social media. And it's an initiative Brendan's behind to raise money for the emergency services which assisted in the Creasla tragedy in October last. How has, obviously it's a very worthy cause, Brendan. We talked about this before. But how has it been received? This tractor has been on quite a tour, and it's going on quite a tour, isn't it?
It has. It's been in the St Patrick's Day parade. Mark Monegal had it on the Donegal Association parade in London, and we got great feedback for it. What's the result? We're going to do the tickets online as well, and because I know nothing about technology. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would say I know nothing about carpentry or shuttering, but that's a different.
But you make a living out of it.
Yeah, I try to fraud me away anyway, but. No, that'll be announced on Friday over at Creasla at 12 o'clock down in the car park. And it's 4 great charities. I mean, the amount of work that those 4 charities do. I mean, Meva Fire Service in Carrigart, it's only voluntary fire service in Ireland. They've got 18 to 20 local members that volunteer all the time. You've got K9. You've got Sarda and you've got Medical Critical, and them charities are unbelievable. And
you know, they came to the fore like all of these great people do when we needed them most, and that was during the awful tragedy in Creasla. And they work, but their work is ongoing. Of course, it was before that awful tragedy, and into the future too. And I think that's why it's really great that you've chosen them to support them in the work that they do going forward. Because we never know when we need them, Brendan.
No, and highlight. I mean, K9 goes, and Sarda and Credit go all over Ireland. Yeah. I mean, Meva Fire Service. They helped out at the wakes and the funerals and that with traffic management and all that.
They do brilliant work.
Great work altogether.
And they're for the community and of the community, really, is the way
for the community as well. And the reason I went ahead and got this tractor was, it was on my mind, and Kieran Brogan, your local councillor here, said to me, he says, come over for the concert in Letterkenny. So I says, I'll come over for that. And that was, the penny dropped then. I says, I have to go and get this tractor. And I spoke to 3 good men that always backed me in London, like Paul O'Donnell, Kevin Tifty and Mark Henry. And I says, look, I'm thinking of getting a tractor. He says, don't worry, we'll back you. And you've got Michael Fingers O'Donnell from Clonmany. I won't tell you why he's called Fingers, but anyway, he paid for the tractor. He hasn't got a...
It's called Fingers because he doesn't mind digging into the wallet.
Oh, that's another point too.
It? Yeah,
one decent man. But there's a lot of them on any show, and I have to say... And he paid for the tractor. He hasn't received any of the sponsorship yet, but he will. Yeah, that will.
Now, come here. There's another thing too. It's how you do things, right? Because it's taken the tractor around the place. It's been in the St Patrick's Day parade. It's up here at Highland now. I already saw one brilliant picture you've taken of it. Where is it going next? Because we only have a couple of minutes, Brendan.
It's going to Creasla tomorrow on Friday.
Yep,
Carrigart then over the weekend, and Mickey Joe's shop. And I have to mention Kernan's at some time. It'll be in Kernan's shop, and I'm looking for other people to take the tractor, take the raffle ticket, and have volunteers there to help us out.
So when is it up at Mickey Joe's?
It'll be Mickey Joe's Monday, and it'll be in Carrigart. I just spoke to Nora McClafferty. It'll be in Carrigart on her street, and there's a couple of people I would like to quickly thank. Yep. FD Signs, Finton and Ashling, CB Signs down here in Letterkenny. CBN. Mm-hmm. Bernard helped me out with rectifying it, and most importantly, James Doherty of JD Recovery, who'll take the tractor anyway. He picked it up at Paul O'Donnell's yard in Perryville, took it here, anywhere, and he says, no problem, wherever you want.
The worst words anyone can say to you is like, anything you need, Tiny.
Oh, that's it.
Because by
he's
God,
going to be tormented.
You get no value out of those words, right?
No.
Okay, and if you want to be, if you want to sort of help out, maybe not everyone has the cash, right? If you want to help out with bucket rattling where the tractor is too, you want people to message you, don't you? Right? We'll call out and have a look on Monday too. And I'm looking at Mickey Joe's, and go ahead.
I'm looking for a couple of somebody to print out A4 posters for me to put at different locations. If there's any printers out there, maybe like Browns might volunteer or someone like that there. They're down beside CBM signs.
I think be handy, wouldn't it?
Be handy.
Browns, no pressure.
He just emailed the stuff across to you.
But come here, and another thing too, by the way, all of the people involved in it, and it's the same with anything Brendan's involved in. He calls in favours and then he calls in places where there aren't favours either. And everyone gives freely of their time, voluntary, digs deep into their own pockets. So in other words, all of the money raised through these €10 tickets for this tractor.
Four ways. It's going four ways.
Yeah, but all the money raised goes 4 ways.
Oh,
you
yes.
know what I mean? There's no admin here.
No.
It's all directly to the charity, and Brendan makes sure of that. So if you see the tractor out and about over the weekend, buy a ticket, is what it is, because you are, you could win, and you're doing your little bit to help those 4 people that helped us so much when we needed them, that group and the people involved in it, and still carry it with them to this day. They came and helped us, and we're just looking to help them a bit, Brendan.
Yes, and one other person I have to thank is Maureen, the wife, the long-suffering wife. She always brought into these equations.
The current wife.
Yeah, because of these emails and all that crack. I can't do none of that stuff.
Of course, no, and she's brilliant. You've a brilliant family as well, Brendan. All right, keep up the great work. We'll chat to you again with further updates.
And thanks very much to Highland. This is very important. You have 70,000 listeners out there, and it's incredible. The support.
Slightly more than that, but I take your point.
Well,
82,000 weekly listeners.
82,000.
I think it is.
Oh, that's grand.
I'm open to correction. So,
but without Highland, over the last number of years that we've done different things in London, we wouldn't get the coverage that we do get, and we'll have you back over again, hopefully at the wherever we have the draw.
Yeah, well, I'm behind you 100%. All right, Brendan Tiny Vaughan, thank you as always. I'll see you over the weekend, I'd imagine, somewhere or other, if you're here and the tractor's here. It's a Massey Ferguson 135. We'll have pictures up on our socials. You can go to Brendan Tiny Vaughan's page on Facebook. Message him if you want to help in terms of bucket rattling and selling tickets around the region, or wherever this tractor may turn up. And also, hey, if you can print A4 flyers on a sort of commercial basis, that would be really helpful too. You can message Brendan Tiny Vaughan on Facebook or contact us here. Brendan, have a good day.
Thank you.
We're back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We have our Friday panel in on a Thursday. David James is going to be in studio with us, chatting about his recent developments and so much more besides. So tune in to us tomorrow at 9. Brendan, safe onward journey.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. News is on the way.
Are you still struggling with slow and unreliable broadband? Imagine is connected